Order. Mr. City Attorney, are there any reports from closed session?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing to report out of closed session tonight.
Thank you. Roll call. Oh, excuse me. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance first. Mr. Doug Landon with the Samaritan Center, will you please lead us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Ayala?
Here.
Councilmember Judge? Here. Councilmember Rhodes?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Here.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Here. Are there any items for agenda review?
Madam Mayor, we do have one for item 9A. There is a supplemental.
Thank you.
I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Ayala?
All votes will be verbal tonight.
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Yes.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. If there is any member of the City Council who may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare at this time. Seeing none, we may move on.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is item 1D1, presentation of a proclamation declaring April 24, 2026 as Arbor Day. And Community Services Coordinator Kelly Duffy is here to present this item. And accepting the proclamation is Marcos Barba, CAL FIRE.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and honorable City Council members. Tonight, we are delighted to announce that the Arbor Day Foundation has once again recognized the City of Simi Valley as a Tree City USA. We are privileged to have a representative from the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection here tonight in recognition of our city achieving the Tree City USA certification for the 26th consecutive year. The first Arbor Day was observed in 1872 with the planting of over 1 million trees. In that tradition, the City of Simi Valley is dedicated to enhancing and preserving the urban environment with the planting of trees. Simi Valley has been named for the 26th year as a Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation. The Simi Valley City Council proclaims the week of April 20th, 2026 Arbor Week in the city and encourages all residents and businesses to plant trees to enhance the beauty of Simi Valley and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Please welcome Fire Representative Marcos Barba.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Marcos Barba. I'm with the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, and under the Urban and Community Forestry Program. And I'm here to present the 26th year of Tree City USA for the city of Simi Valley and talk a little bit about Tree City USA. So for a community to receive a Tree City USA designation, you need 4 criteria: a tree board or department, a tree care ordinance, a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita, and Arbor Day proclamation observance. Since 2000, the city of Simi Valley has shown its dedication to restoring, enhancing, and maintaining your community's urban forestry by meeting or exceeding these standards. It's my pleasure on behalf of CAL FIRE and the Arbor Day Foundation to recognize your guys' achievement, and thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, and we'd like to present you with this proclamation. I had the honor of actually being on the Tree Advisory Committee way back when we had it, and we would have Arbor Days. And it's so important. If you drive through Simi Valley, look at all our trees, and you go to other communities, they don't have the trees that we do. And it really makes a difference in our climate also, but it just makes a difference in feeling good and seeing a beautiful city. So we thank you for honoring us again for Tree City USA. Thank you. I know, I hate photo ops.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D2, presentation of a proclamation declaring the week of April 19th through 2026 as Library Week. And Deputy Community Services Director Anna Medina is here to present this item, and accepting the proclamation are Stephanie Ronca, Library Director, Dave Rosenberg, Branch Manager, and Jimena Jaramillo, Adult Literacy Coordinator.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council. It is my honor to recognize National Library Week in the city of Simi Valley. Libraries spark creativity, fuel imagination, and inspire lifelong learning by offering welcoming spaces where individuals of all ages can experience the joy of exploration and discovery. They serve as vibrant community hubs that connect people with knowledge, technology, and resources while fostering civic engagement, critical thinking, and cultural enrichment. Libraries provide free and equitable access to books, digital tools, and innovative programming, ensuring that all individuals, regardless of background, have the support they need to learn, connect, and thrive. Through collaborative partnerships with schools, businesses, and community organizations, libraries expand access to essential services and contribute meaningfully to the strength and vitality of our community. They play a critical role in nurturing young minds through story times, STEAM programs, and literacy initiatives that foster curiosity and a lifelong love of learning, while also protecting the right to read, think, and explore freely as champions of intellectual freedom and free expression. These contributions are made possible by the committed librarians and library staff who create welcoming environments that inspire discovery, collaboration, and creativity for all. On behalf of the City Council, we extend our sincere appreciation to the library staff for their exemplary service, professionalism, and steadfast commitment to the residents of Simi Valley. In recognition of the vital role libraries play, the City of Simi Valley hereby proclaims April 19th through April 25th, 2026 as Library Week, honoring the invaluable contributions of the Simi Valley Public Library and its staff. All residents are encouraged to visit the library, take advantage of its many resources and programs, and join us in celebrating the important role it plays in enriching and uniting our community.
Thank you. Would you like to present this to you? Our library does such wonderful things. If you have not been there recently, you really need to go in there and check it out. We have so many innovative ideas going on there. Our mobile van is one of our newest and biggest, which is great. You do all kinds of programs throughout the year, especially during the summertime and when kids are out. I know my grandkids love to go to the library. So if you haven't been there, make sure you get there soon. And if you are going there, continue to do so. Stephanie, would you like to say anything? No, thank you. No, thank you. All right. Well, you guys do a great job. We're so very proud of you and everything you do for our library. So thank you. Now it's picture. Thank you. Night, ladies.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D3, presentation of a proclamation declaring April 20, 2026 as Earth Day, and Public Works Director Ron Fuchiwaki is here to present this item, and accepting the proclamation is Deputy Public Works Director Wanda Moyer.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and council members. The first Earth Day was observed on April 22nd, 1970, and led to the creation of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in December 1970. Their mission is to protect human health and the environment, ensuring clean air, land, and water. To celebrate Earth Day, we are pleased to announce that the city is partnering with the Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District for an event on Friday, April 24th at Atherwood Park from 3:30 to 5:30. Additionally, on Thursday, April 23rd, from 4 to 7, the city is joining the Simi Valley School District for the Monte Vista School Earth Day event and open house. During these events, staff will engage children in fun and educational activities focused on protecting our planet and its precious natural resources. We would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the joint efforts of the city, the Park District, and the school district in educating our community about environmental sustainability. Therefore, it is proclaimed April 22nd, 2026 as Earth Day in the city of Simi Valley to encourage all residents and business to support and participate in Earth Day activities, recognizing our commitment to both our local and global environment.
Thank you. Recognizing Earth Day is just one thing we can do to help everybody in our community to appreciate what we have and to take care of what we have. And Wanda does a great job in her area. Some of the landscaping you see, the beautiful water-saving landscaping, a lot of times it's done by Wanda. So she does a great job. So just congratulations, and thank you for accepting this. Would you like to say anything?
I just want to say the landscape team is really the one that does all the work. I help find the funding, and it is beautiful in bloom, so thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, picture. Thank you, Wanda.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D4, presentation of a proclamation declaring the week of April 12th through April 18th, 2026 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And Communications Manager Aaron Cooper is here to present this item. And accepting the proclamation are Communications Supervisor Brooke Dunbar and Dispatcher Trainee Elsie Montesquieu.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I have the honor of recognizing a group of professionals who are absolutely essential to public safety, but who often go unseen. National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week is about acknowledging the people behind the headset, the calm voice on the other end of chaos, the ones who are making critical decisions in seconds, gathering information, and getting help where it needs to go fast. When someone dials 911, it is rarely on their best day. It's fear, panic, uncertainty, and on the other end is a dispatcher who shows up steady, focused, and ready to help every single time. While most people are celebrating life's moments, birthdays, holidays, soccer games, family dinners, community events, there is always a dispatcher sitting behind a console, missing those moments, working through those holidays, answering a call that for someone else may be the worst day of their life. And without hesitation, they show up, calm, focused, and ready to help. Our dispatchers are not just voices on a phone or radio. They are highly trained professionals who are constantly prioritizing, coordinating, and supporting both the public and our officers in the field. They are the link between crisis and response, and they carry that responsibility every shift. Here at Simi Valley Police Department, our dispatchers serve this community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Holidays, nights, the moments that most people don't see, they are there. And the work they do in those moments truly matters. It saves lives, it protects our community, and it makes a difference. Over the past week, April 12th through April 18th, we celebrated Public Safety Telecommunicators Week here in the city of Simi Valley. It is a time for us to pause and say thank you, to recognize the commitment, the professionalism, and the heart that goes into this job. Because the reality is, dispatchers are some of the most important people you may never see. Thank you.
Thank you. Round of applause. Thank you. Dispatchers, you are first responders, and I think sometimes people forget that. And you're so very important to everything that is done. I believe we just celebrated last weekend, or this past weekend, the Dispatchers of the Year from every public agency in the community. Mm-hmm. I think our Rotary Club sponsored it, right? Yeah, very good. Unfortunately, I was out of town on another Rotary event. Otherwise, I would have loved to have been there. But congratulations and thank you for all that you do. We need you to keep us safe, and we appreciate you, the sacrifices you do on your family and how that is. So thank you for all you do. Would you like to say anything? Oh, Aaron said it all.
I do want to say that this is Alcie's first day as a dispatcher trainee. So.
Oh, and you're up here.
Welcome.
Yes.
Oh, you're okay. Well, congratulations. Well, best of luck to you in your career. All right, thank you. Thank you. Picture?
And while you're taking the
Aaron?
picture, it was Jordan Cook who was celebrated as the Simi Valley Dispatcher of the Year at the event.
Yes, thank you. I know, I looked out there, I went, where'd Aaron go? I didn't realize you had moved over to do the presentation. Thank you all very much.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 2, public statements on appointments, special presentations, and informational reports. We have no speakers for this item this evening. Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A1, designation of 2 City Council members to conduct interviews for the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center Foundation Board of Directors. And Assistant Community Services Manager Sandy McGee is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council. The Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides endowment and annual financial support for the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center. The foundation board is comprised of up to 21 voting members, including 7 City Council appointed public members. Due to 1 City Council appointed member resignation in October 2025, and the expiration of 2 City Council appointed terms on June 30th, 2026, there are currently 3 City Council appointed public member vacancies. The city initiated a recruitment to solicit applications that concluded on March 27th, 2026. A total of 4 applications were received, and staff estimates that approximately 1 hour will be needed to conduct the interviews. Staff is recommending that the City Council select 2 City Council members to interview and nominate 3 candidates to fill the vacancies on the Foundation Board. Mayor Pro Tem Litster and Councilmember Rhodes served on the nominating committee for the Foundation Board in May of 2025. This concludes the report, and staff is available to answer any questions at this time.
Anyone have any questions?
I would just put out there that because Elaine and I serve on the Arts Commission, that being on this panel for interviews would be appropriate. I'd be happy to do it again this year.
So moved.
I
I'm
need a
happy as
second.
well, but I don't want to deny him the opportunity, but happy to do it.
Okay, we have a first. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ayala?
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Yes.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A2, designation of 1 City Council member to serve on a selection committee to interview and nominate prospective Simi Valley Arts Commissioners. Assistant Community Services Manager Sandy McGee is presenting this item as well.
Good evening again, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council. On June 30th, 2026, the terms of service for 3 members of the Simi Valley Arts Commission will conclude. The Arts Commission is responsible for promoting greater public participation in and access to arts and culture, exploring alternate sources of arts and culture funding, planning arts programs and events, developing a master cultural plan, applying for grants, reviewing the annual financial and operational plans for the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center, and reinforcing the arts as a vital, integral, and necessary component of life for all members of the community. The commission is comprised of 8 members, 2 City Council members, 5 City Council appointed public members, and 1 Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center Foundation Board of Director. All public members serve staggered 2-year terms of office. Arts Commission members may serve 2 consecutive terms and may serve additional terms provided 12 months have lapsed between appointments beyond 2 consecutive terms. Staff initiated recruitment on February 12, 2026, to fill these upcoming vacancies. A total of 7 applications were received and 6 candidates attended the orientation. It is estimated that approximately 1.5 hours will be needed to conduct the interviews. Staff is recommending that the City Council designate 1 City Council member to serve on a selection committee with a continuing Arts Commissioner to interview and nominate 3 applicants to serve on the Arts Commission for appointment by the City Council. Councilmember Rhodes last served in this capacity in April of 2025. This concludes the report, and staff is available to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the dais?
As the person who did it last year, I want to wholeheartedly volunteer Elaine to do it this year.
I'll second.
I would be honored to serve in that capacity. Be happy to do it.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Ayala?
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Yes.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A3, designation of City Council members to interview and nominate prospective Neighborhood Council Executive Board members. And Community Services Coordinator Kelly Duffy is here presenting this item.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, again, and members of the City Council. Neighborhood Council Executive Board members are appointed to staggered 2-year terms with approximately 1/3 of the seats expiring every 8 months. The next term of appointments is scheduled to commence on July 1st, 2026. A general recruitment was conducted March 3rd through April 3rd, 2026 to fill the upcoming 16 vacant positions. A total of 25 applications were received during the recruitment period. The distribution of applications was as follows. Neighborhood Council number 1 received 9 applications. Neighborhood Council number 2 received 3 applications. Neighborhood Council number 3, 3 applications. And Neighborhood Council number 4 received 10 applications. In previous recruitment cycles, the City Council has appointed 2 subcommittees, each consisting of 2 City Council members. Staff recommends that the City Council appoint 2 subcommittees, each comprised of 2 City Council members, to interview and nominate prospective Neighborhood Council Executive Board members. This concludes my report, and staff is available for questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster.
So I do have a question about the process. I noticed in the report that it stated that, well, if I understand correctly, there are 13 that serve on the committee. And basically, we go through this process 3 times in 2 years. Is that
Right,
kind of
every
accurate?
8 months. So
Every 8 months, okay.
24 months.
So I was just, I was trying to understand why District Number 3 has 6 vacancies and District Number 2 has only 1 vacancy.
So unfortunately, every now and then, we have some people who they drop out. And also, when I came in, we had an executive board, Neighborhood Council 2 only had 9 members. And so to fill that up, which was about 2 years ago, they had a large amount. And then the next one, we only had 1.
So for that district, they will always, unless people drop out, will tend to have, okay.
Well, it depends because it does
Sure.
happen every now and then that people
Someone
need to
moves
drop
or,
out.
sure, got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Moving.
And I had one other question. I noticed for my district, number 3, that basically there is not enough applicants to actually fill the openings. And so my question was, if I go out and recruit this week, is it too late for them to be part of the process, or is it closed? I mean, Not that I would do that. I just want to understand the process.
It is closed, but I also had that question from my executive board members because, and I've looked in the bylaws because of this question. We had a couple executive board members that are terming off that wish to stay on, but our bylaws say that there needs to be, between each term, there needs to be 8 months.
Right.
So then I think we would have to change the bylaws. We would have, if those 3 are appointed, then we will have 10 on the board, which would mean we would only need 6 for quorum. And right now we have 7 for quorum. So it's really only 1 off.
Got it. But that instance I see is a little bit different because the bylaws preclude them returning, but someone never having, have you done all the trainings for them already, I guess is my question. I know that's part of the requirement.
The training, the orientations are complete.
Okay, got it. So that, in my mind, that it precludes then. Got it.
For like a new member.
Correct, for brand new member. Okay, understood.
Thank you. Councilmember Ayala.
Yeah, so should we just split it, 1 and 2 together, 3 and 4 together? It's about the same amount of applications.
That's what I was going to suggest, so that you have an equal number.
Yeah, and then it's different from what we did the previous time as well.
So I need a motion on who's going to do.
The only thing
which.
is, Dee Dee, did you want to be part of the interviewing cycle?
No, I'll let you guys continue to do that. I'll just go visit each one.
Okay, that's fine.
So then I will move to designate 2 subcommittees, myself, Councilmember Ayala, and Councilmember Judge, to interview and nominate for Neighborhood Councils 1 and 2, and Councilmember Rhodes and Mayor Pro Tem Litster to interview and nominate Executive Board members for Neighborhood Councils 3 and 4.
I will second that.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Ayala?
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Yes.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3B1, informational presentation by Youth Council Member Elizabeth Rakowski.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and distinguished members of the City Council. My name is Elizabeth Rakowski, and I am a junior at Royal High School. First, I would like to give my sincerest gratitude to you for your never-ending support of the Simi Valley Youth Council. Your continued investment in our program empowers us as leaders, serves our peers, and contribute to initiatives that have a positive impact on the youth community. It is truly an honor to be here today to share updates on our recent events and any upcoming initiatives. The end of March and the first half of April have been filled with meaningful engagement, impactful events, and ongoing preparation for several major initiatives. To begin with, Youth Council members had the opportunity to participate in the Ventura County Office of Education Equity Conference. During this event, our members were able to moderate and sit on panels discussing student civic engagement. These discussions allowed students to share their perspectives on important topics surrounding equity, inclusion, and representation. Additionally, we planned and led an equity walk where attendees engaged in open and honest discussion about complex and challenging topics. This experience fostered thoughtful dialogue and equipped participants to apply what they learned within their communities. On April 11th, 2026, the Youth Council hosted their annual talent show at the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center. The event featured over 30 acts performing in either the afternoon or evening show, showcasing a wide range of talents from students in the community. With a total of 180 tickets sold for the event not only highlighted creativity and diversity, but brought our community together in a supportive and positive environment. Through the dedication and teamwork of our Youth Council members, we raised approximately $8,000 to help fund and support future community events for our youth. Additionally, on April 14th, the Youth Council held a youth safety workshop in collaboration with Detective King from our Simi Valley Police Department. The workshop welcomed over 40 community members and focused on raising awareness about critical issues such as human trafficking. Attendees learned to recognize warning signs, support individuals who may be at risk, and better understand the common myths about this topic. This event was especially impactful as it provided practical knowledge that the participants can share within their community. Looking ahead, we are excited to present a workshop at the California School Health and Behavioral Health Conference on April 27th. We were specifically invited by the school district to this event to participate, which reflects the growing recognition of the Youth Council's efforts and the positive impacts we are making beyond our immediate community. Furthermore, we are currently preparing for our upcoming Teen Wellness Night on May 22nd. This event is designed to help students manage their stress, particularly from AP exam season. We will be organizing a variety of wellness-focused booths and activities that will help promote relaxation, self-care, and mental health awareness. Following this event, we will also be hosting a Yogurtland fundraiser, providing a way for the community to support our initiatives. Mark this date on your calendars and enjoy a sweet treat while also supporting the Youth Council. On May 30th, we will host our Field Day event, which aims to raise awareness about the dangers of drinking and driving. Through interactive activities and educational components, students from across the community will come together to learn, connect, and engage with this important issue in a meaningful and impactful way. In addition, the Youth Council will be presenting to the school board on May 19th, further expanding our outreach and strengthening our connection with the broader community. Lastly, Youth Council applications for the 2026-2027 term are open and due on April 22nd. Students under 15 years old will be required to complete a hard copy application. However, anyone who prefers a physical copy may complete one and drop it off either here at City Hall or mail it to City Hall, addressed to Youth Council Coordinator Ryan Fowler. Students who are 15 years of age or older may complete and submit their application online. We encourage our middle school and high school students to apply in order to build lasting connections, create meaningful experiences, and develop leadership skills while becoming more actively involved in their community. I would like to highly encourage everyone to stay connected with the Simi Valley Youth Council by following us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Simi Valley Youth Council, as well on TikTok at SVYC2929. Once again, I would like to thank Mayor Kavanaugh and the City Council for inviting me to speak this evening and for your continued support of youth initiatives in our community. Your commitment enables us to create meaningful change, and we are truly grateful. I am happy to answer any questions you have, and thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Litster.
Elizabeth, that was a fabulous presentation. Thank you very much. I do have a couple of questions, a couple of things that weren't on my radar. You mentioned on the 27th of April, a behavioral health conference that you are participating in, but you're invited by the school district. What exactly is that? Does that entail?
Not specifically Elizabeth, although she was reporting on it. Yes, we were invited by the school district to apply to, this is the California School Health and Behavioral Health Conference. So it is a state conference for school nurses, school counselors, social workers, to talk about, we were invited to present, to apply to present a workshop. And so we put together a proposal on partnerships, talking about our partnership with the school district, especially through their tobacco use and prevention education, which we're a big part of, Friday Night Live, as well as our work with Bright Youth through the Simi Valley Unified School District. And our proposal was accepted. So myself and our chair and vice chair and a representative from Bright Youth, as well as the school district, will be presenting on Monday at that conference.
And where's that being held?
Universal City.
Wonderful. Very, very good. And Elizabeth, did I hear you correctly? Applications are due April 22nd, so to be very clear, that's in 2 days?
Yes,
Is that right?
is.
Okay. So get the word out. You've got 2 days to make it happen.
Still plenty of time.
Plenty of time. Thank you, Elizabeth. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you. For Mr. Fowler, you mentioned $8,000, or Elizabeth, in your presentation. How does that compare to last year?
I believe we raised, off the top of my head, about $6,000 last year, so definitely better.
Great. It was, for those of you who could not attend or did attend, it was a great experience. I'm sure we'll talk about it later in our reports. The other thing I wanted to mention was that, and Mr. Fowler mentions this a lot, but it's a good thing. There's 24 seats, I believe, on the council.
Correct.
How many are up for election or selection this year? Is it all 24?
No, so we, of our current members, like Lizzie over here, 9 are able to return. So we have 15 open spots.
And what's your application count right now?
We are just about at 50. I'd like to get around to 70 or so would be good, but we're about 50. Last year we had 90 applications.
And I bring that up because one of the other great things I think about this program in terms of the applications is they do not screen the applications and then decide who gets to be interviewed. The interviews are conducted by the members of the Youth Council. So they interview every single applicant that turns in an application. And one of the things that Mr. Fowler mentioned to me the other day, or I overheard him say, was they do that too because it allows those students, even if they don't get selected, to have the practice of actually interviewing. And I think that is what's really important as well. So thank you for doing that. And to the youth council members who sit through hours and hours of interviews and don't discount anyone.
12 hours to be specific.
12 hours to be exact. We would not even do that, but the youth do that. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Not all in one day, to be clear.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I was bragging about our youth council at a leadership event I was just at for high schoolers. In fact, I was checking people in, and one young lady goes, "Aren't you our mayor?" She goes, "I'm on the youth council." So I just thought that was really cute. And Elizabeth, thank you for representing my Royal High School also. I have to do that because Councilmember Judge went to see me, so we like to tease each other a little bit.
I was confused by the S, but.
I know, I was too at first. Is that for Stanford?
No, it's just a random letter.
Oh, okay. At first, I'm like, oh, she's from Simi High. And then I saw the colors, and I went, no. So, well, either way, Elizabeth, you did a great job, and thank you for representing our youth council so well. And thank you, Mr. Fowler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3C1, presentation by Adventist Health Program Manager Daniel Werley and Director of Public Health Nursing Salita Dabrowski.
City Council and City Staff, I'm Lisa Hemenoy, Director of Community Integration with Adventist Health Simi Valley and co-chair of the Ventura County Community Health Improvement Collaborative Steering Committee. I'm pleased to introduce Daniel Worley, Program Manager with Community Lifting Communities, and Salita Dabrowski, if you can just wave. She's the Director of Public Health Nursing with Ventura County Public Health and also my co-chair for the Steering Committee. Daniel will present highlights from the recently completed Ventura County-wide Community Health Needs Assessment. We appreciate the opportunity to share a brief update with you and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and
There's a
council
button
members.
to raise that up for you on the side. Show him, so you'll be more comfortable.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you. I'm the shortest one in my family, so thank you for having me here today. As Lisa just said, I'll just be describing some highlights of it, but I welcome any questions as well. We're not going to get into all the details about the data. Our 2025 Ventura County Community Health Needs Assessment was run and led by VCHIC, what we call the Ventura County Community Health Improvement Collaborative. It's a long name. It's a formal cost-sharing partnership made up of major healthcare stakeholders across the county, including Adventist Health here in Simi Valley. Includes hospitals, community clinics, the main public agencies around health, the major health plans. So you can see it's a large continuum, and then there are many dozens and dozens of partners helping us with this. And really, we first came together in 2016 and 2018 officially to do this sort of assessment, really trying to get a sense of what is it that the County of Ventura needs for all of its residents to be healthy and to improve their quality of life. And every 3 years, we're asked to do this again and again. And every year, we learn more about how to do it well. And so I'm going to give you some highlights about what happened in 2025 as we went through this process. So VCHIC is really, as I said, a collective organization meant to do collective impact. And really, it's about partnerships and building unified action to improve the health of the county. Historically, we have done health needs assessments, which, as you can imagine, is kind of in the name. We're trying to learn more about what the county is doing, but not just for the purpose of hearing from residents, but really to start doing action planning that makes an impact to improve their health. We know that even though Ventura County is a relatively healthy community, that we always can do more to improve the quality of life. So this is what we are engaged in doing. What's the purpose of this kind of a health needs assessment? I think everyone's taken a survey and said, why did I do that survey? What came of it? We hear this from residents all the time. But it does have a purpose, and it's not simply to give you a survey. It's fulfilling regulatory requirements for many of the healthcare agencies, including the hospitals and including the public agencies. It gives us some of those vital community insights about what is really happening on the ground today. It's not just about an anecdote. It's not a data point. It's really conversations with community members. And it really serves as then the foundation for collective planning as to what are we going to do to improve their lives. And lastly, we really wanted to achieve certain values. It's not just about cost saving. It's not just about what is it to keep someone out of an emergency room. It really is about values and quality of life. As we say, it really is the foundation for our data-led, community-centered process to improve health for all. So just to give you a couple highlights about some of the data and community input that we got last year. Over the first 2 months of 2025, we conducted surveys online and in person across the county, including here in Simi Valley. We got over 6,600 completed surveys, more than 300 in Simi Valley alone. And of those, you can see this breakdown. I'm not going to run through it all. You can see it's primarily in English, but we had a bilingual survey, and we got a lot of them online, but also in person. So it was a wide breadth of the community that we heard from, and we combined that with health data insights that we gathered from the public health department and combined that to come up with that data, and then we combined it with local input. And this is really the important part, I would argue, is not just the data, not just the survey, but really talking to people. What are the challenges you're facing? What do you need from your county? What do you need from your community to really thrive? And so you can see we did community focus groups for many communities that really are struggling. In particular, it's not that they're the only groups that are struggling, but ones that maybe aren't always reached by a survey. And then we did partner listening sessions. What we really reached out to is who's providing care for the community and how can they really impact what we're talking about, what we know are the most urgent issues. So you can see some of the groups that we talked with, including veterans, folks who are non-English speaking, folks who are unhoused, and then also behavioral health services, those who serve young children, those who serve older adults across the breadth of the county and from east to west, north to south, and across the age span. Then we take all of that, as you can imagine, it's a lot of information. We hear a lot, particularly in 2025, the community was facing a lot, they still are, but you can imagine it was a highly dynamic year for people's health needs. There was a lot of fear in the community across Ventura County and beyond. So then we had to decide, well, how do we prioritize what we're hearing? What we had to basically do is take all this data, look at, yes, of course, data from a perspective of what is impacting the health, but also try to filter it through what is strategic for these health partners to make a difference on. It can't be we're doing everything. If we're doing everything, we're probably not going to do it all well. So we have to narrow our scope and really lean into what is it that we can impact, what is urgent, and what can the healthcare partners do that maybe some others aren't. So for that reason, we landed on these three for our county-wide priorities for the next 3 years. It's not to say that other things aren't important, just to clarify. Housing came up as that high need across the county, but what we decided is there's a lot of folks working on housing in Ventura County. Maybe the healthcare partners can take a supportive role, and we will focus on these: older adult health, women's health, and behavioral health. We also realized in talking to the community members is that across all of those topics, there are certain things that cut across them. There's a challenge for accessing care and services of every kind of health service and every kind of need. There's also the challenge of health navigation. How do you get, if I have a need, how do I actually get that service? And lastly, there's the health equity. Certain communities and certain populations who feel even when they're trying to get ahead, they're still struggling. So we're trying to achieve those across all of those cross-cutting issues. I'm going to give you just a few of the data points. I'm not going to talk through all of these for the sake of time. But just to give you a sense, there is a lot of data points that tell us where some of the struggles are. And again, we as a county can't maybe do all of this at once, but we can focus our efforts to make an appreciable difference over the next 3 years so that the community feels that they're healthier. So we can see for older adult health, there are a number of ways in which county residents are really struggling, those who are 55 and older. And you can really see that this is just a snapshot of some of the things they're struggling with in the community. Likewise, when it comes to behavioral health, and I heard what we heard from the Youth Council, definitely we see that for younger adults, but it's not just younger adults in our communities that are struggling with behavioral health challenges right now. So what we can see is barely more than half of those across the county who said that they needed behavioral health services. And by that, I mean mental health or substance use services didn't get services. And again, that's not to say that Ventura County isn't doing its best, but maybe we can make appreciable differences over the next 3 years. Likewise, we looked at disparities when we looked at these data. Are there certain groups that are struggling? And again, to the youth example, we saw that there were a lot of young people ending up in the ER due to mental health issues, and that was predominantly young women. So what can we do to address some of those particular populations? Not every solution works the same for every group. So this is what we're trying to do, is find where are the needs that we can really make an impact and tailor our approach to that. Lastly, we did get a lot of community input, as I said. If you look at the report, and I think Lisa, my colleague, passed these out to everyone, they do show where we heard from people. So that gives a little bit more of the flavor to what some of the challenges are. It's not just a data point, it's someone's life who's really struggling. So that's why we feel there's a sense of urgency in this approach. We can't just say we're a group that meets every 3 years to talk about planning. We have to deliver for the residents. They are counting on us. So that brings us to our last point, is really now we pivot from what I would call the assessment and the planning stage to really this idea of pivoting to collective impact. And that's where VCHIC has really sort of set the bar. If you look at across the state, we have a lot of people ask us, how is it that Ventura County has done this so well? They're bringing in behavioral health, public health, the hospitals, the health plans. Many counties have not done that effectively. Ventura County has done it, but now we're trying to stay ahead of the curve. We're also working on how do we do it collectively to impact it, not just assess it. How do we do more than just planning, and how do we actually achieve change? So that's what you can see over the next 3 years we're looking to do. So early this year, we kicked off our work groups for each one of those 3 priority areas: older adults, behavioral health, and women's health. And we're really looking to get a broad cross-section of society, the county, including Simi County residents, to really impact what it is that we need to do. It's not always a hospital that has the only answer. It should be the hospital along with the CBO. It should be the community clinic along with the health plan that works together to achieve these solutions. And I do want to just give one example. So we've been doing this, as I said, for multiple iterations now. Our last iteration in 2022 really focused on, again, substance use disorder and the challenges in the community. And I want to point out just one highlight of what was achieved in those 3 years is that local Adventist Health in Simi Valley worked together with partners across the spectrum, across sectors, including with Gold Coast Health Plan, including with CBOs, and really started to achieve gains in what they call the Substance Use Navigator program. And that wasn't just a small effort. It really built out this effort to intervene and help those who have substance use disorder here in Simi Valley and beyond. And so you can see that this collective effort isn't just one hospital doing a standalone program. It's really the collective fabric of this community working together to achieve community health. And I think we can all be proud of what Adventist Health is doing, and I think we can all be proud of what we can be doing in the future. And I do know that I haven't had time to go through a lot of what we talked about for Simi Valley's health, but I think I can talk about that if you have questions. I do think one of the things that we see here in Simi Valley, as opposed to the county as a whole, is that need for affordability, that need for access came up time and time again, both in the survey results and people who spoke to us. So again, we can't fix that all in one fell swoop. Some of these are systemic problems, but we can look to achieve real change by working together across community lines, across political lines to really achieve some of these changes. And I think you can see that it's going to make a difference in the next 3 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Weirley. I think we have some questions. Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the data. Anytime you're trying to make community decisions, data is the best way to go. One question for you and then one question for Ms. Hemingway. The data set that you collected, the number of respondents you got, one, there was an error on your slide, but did you feel that it was a substantial enough cross-section of both race, gender, age?
Great questions. I mean, the survey questions, surveys of this type are always prone to, I will say, if you look across the state, we tend to get older adults who respond more heavily. It tends to be women who respond more heavily. So the survey does skew older and more female-oriented. That's not unique to Ventura County. In terms of the sheer numbers on the populations, I think we did do a great job. I've seen larger counties that have had less response, and we got really good response rate by having it in paper, by having it bilingual. But that is where those focus groups play an important role, is that we know that there are folks that are historically underserved by a survey, even if we do our best efforts. So that's where the focus group for those hard to reach populations really tries to come into play.
And the 3 segments that you came up with, that doesn't surprise me at all, but then what you were able to do and drill down further into that data and how do you dissect it, that was really impressive. And that leads to my question for Adventist Health, and that is, I pressed the button to ask the question before your last slide, which was, this is what we did last year with the data to, and that response for addiction was, but what are you going to do with this year's data? What did you learn that you can apply this year?
Sorry, Lisa.
I think we just continue our collaborations and really just continue working with each other and our organizations here and really just continue educating and promoting, because it's very important for all of us to work together. It doesn't take just one person, it really all of us. And we're such a great community. All of us work together to help one another. So I think the continued collaboration.
Yeah, mental health issues and drug issues don't know borders. So
No,
I'm glad
not
that
at
you're
all.
working throughout the county, and thank you for the data. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you. I think I have a question for each of you too. Worley, right, Mr. Worley?
Yes,
Is that correct?
correct.
You had mentioned that do you have the data specific to CME that you could provide to us at a later time just separately?
Yes. So we do have a separate set that one of our public health colleagues thankfully ran for us about just the survey results from Simi Valley. And as I said, that was around 300 results. So that's where you start to get into some of the statistical. 300 can't necessarily speak to the full breadth of this community's needs, but we do our best. So we can break it out, and we can definitely share that data after the fact as well. It is mostly in line with what we saw across the county. I mean, what you also see is to your question or your comment about behavioral health crossing lines. Unfortunately, most of these issues cut across communities. There are differences, and there are differences in terms of what needs to maybe be done to deliver improvement, but most of the issues cut across, municipal lines. So most of it is pretty similar.
And then as you come up with implementation strategies and things we have to do, is there funding at the county level to support like Adventist in CME, or is it privately funded that the hospitals have to come up with their own funding strategy to do the implementation?
I'll start with that, and Lisa, you can maybe chime in too. I mean, I will say it's a fantastic question. And this is where VCHIC as a collective, these 10 partners really have stepped up this year to try to make sure that we have money for implementation. But it's not enough, frankly. I mean, the federal cuts, the state cuts, I mean, it is a challenge for the breadth of the needs that we see in the community. So that's why we always are trying to look at feasibility and strategic scope. And I do think that's where, of course, we're always seeking additional funds to make sure that Adventist Health and others can really achieve the results. We're not just doing analysis for analysis' sake, but that we're really trying to deliver results. So yes, funding is something, and we'd be happy to partner with others and partnering with the hospitals and others to really make that something that we can deliver.
Great, thank you.
And that's where we have our community benefit spend. So I have a budget of where we can allocate our funding strategically aligned with our community health implementation strategy. So we take a look at that at the beginning of the year, and the programs and the services that are out in the community, we can support them financially, or we can support them with some other types of the Narcan kits, or, we're at the street fairs. We help the Park District Senior Games. We help support those events. So we do align with our organizations here, and I do have a budget for that.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Litster.
Thank you. Actually, appreciate the presentation. Very good. I wanted to understand, there was a slide about 3 back that talked about, I think it was, I just wanted to understand the slide better. I don't mean to, keep going. Right before this one. Help me understand when you talk about adults needing and receiving behavioral health, value compared to, what is meant
so
by that?
I included this just so for those who go onto our website, which is Health Matters in
Okay.
Ventura County, and I'll share that as well. This is kind of the way that it looks on the dashboard. So sometimes folks are like, what's the dashboard? So it compares each of these data results to what it looks like in other California counties. So for instance, in these two measures, you can see, particularly the top measure, it is quite poor compared to other California counties in terms of those who need and receive the behavioral health services.
So you're
and
saying,
then the California value is what percent across California ask for and receive that service. So you can see the range isn't even that large. Even in California as a whole, it's 58%. Here in Ventura County, it's about 52%.
so 52% of adults that need it receive assistance?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
And that's
so-
a multifaceted, I mean, again,
Sure.
that's a multifaceted problem. So it's not that we can simply just wave a wand and fix that, but that's why we're trying to dive deeply into what is it going to take to at least mitigate some of those challenges.
Okay, got it. And 26% of adults needing help with mental, emotional, or substance abuse problems receive assistance,
Correct.
suggesting that 74% who need it are not receiving
Correct.
it. Ouch. Okay. I just
And
wanted-
again, I mean, you can see that these are, I mean, they're not unique to Ventura
Sure.
County. It's not that
Sure.
Ventura County is far out of step with the state. I mean, many of these are national challenges.
Got it.
But
I just wanted to understand.
No, it's a good point. That's why I wanted to bring those two up as they're pretty eye-opening.
Start, right. Thank you. And my other question, and maybe this is a Lisa question too, I know that the substance use navigation gentleman that was there, that has been working in the emergency room, has been doing wonderful work. And I recall years, probably before you were even here, Lisa, looking for a funding source for him specifically. But I understand it's more stable now. I was impressed with your statistic. You said 375 were referred to treatment, which is fabulous. Is there specific stable funding source for that program in Adventist?
The Substance Use Navigator program was part of a grant through California Bridge, and that ended about a year or so ago.
Right.
And so now he's contracted through Conejo Health, and which is great because we have a lot of other substance use navigators that other hospitals and other organizations utilize them both or all of them together. So they're all working together, but just at different locations. Brady Wellman is who you're
Right,
talking
right.
about. He is at our hospital all the time, so he is there. He's dedicated to that facility, and he's wonderful. He's really great.
Wonderful. So glad. Well, very good. Thank you both.
Thank you for this wonderful presentation. We really appreciate you taking the time. Have a good evening.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3C2, presentation by audit partner with Vasquez and Company LLP regarding the fiscal year 2024-25 audit results, and Deputy Administrative Services Director of Fiscal Marvin Lopez is here to present this item.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. Each year, the Simi Valley Fiscal Services Team, your local favorite accountants, prepare the annual comprehensive financial report, known as the ACFR, and facilitate a citywide financial audit. The audit is an independent review of our city's accounting processes and the related financial statements. Financial statements provide information about operations, cash flows, assets, and liabilities that account for the government's management and use of funds. Financial reporting serves as a link between our government's financial information and our city council, taxpayers, and creditors. The city's ACFR for fiscal year 24-25 was completed in December of last year and was provided to and accepted by City Council on the January 12th meeting earlier this year. The single audit, which is the audit of federal grant expenditures, was just concluded in March. And now that we have concluded these audits, our audit firm has joined us to present the results. Please welcome Linda Narciso, audit partner at Vasquez and Company.
Good evening. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. Yeah, now it's time to go down. A bit shorter than the gentleman. So I'm happy to be here again to present to you the results of our audit of your city, and we are covering the year ended June 30, 2025. So for this afternoon, I'll start with the introduction of the engagement team, the one assigned to audit your financial statements. I'll go over the scope of the services as well as reconfirm our independence with regards to the city. Then I'll go over the results of the audit. We'll start with the financial statements, and then I'll also cover single audit as well as provide some financial statement highlights. And I'll end with the required communication to those charged with governance, which is, of course, the City Council. So for the engagement team, so I'm the lead partner, so overall, I'm the one signing on the report. I also have a second partner involved in the engagement, so that's Christy Cañeda. So what she does is perform a quality control review of all the reports that we issue to the city to make sure that we are complying with applicable standards, we are issuing the correct opinion, and all the necessary note disclosures are included in your financial statements. We also involve our IT department in terms of looking at your IT general controls. So we have, that's being led by our IT senior manager, Jason Tagasa. So for the audit, I'm also assisted by the senior manager, of course, Rhoda, as well as another audit manager and associate manager. So for the scope of the engagement, it's basically the same as in the previous years. So we are auditing your financial statements. We are also performing a single audit. So that's a compliance audit of your compliance with your federal programs. And of course, on a year-round basis, we are available to the city's finance team in terms of any consultations about maybe implementation of new accounting standards. For the financial statement, we perform that audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards in the US, but also government auditing standards. For the single audit, we perform that in accordance with the uniform guidance. So in terms of independence, we just want to confirm that the entire Vasquez team are independent of the city, so there are no relationship between us and any member of the city staff or members of the city council that would impair our independence. Now moving on to the results of the audit. So for the financial statement audit, we are again issuing a clean opinion. So an unmodified opinion on your financial statements. It means that the financial statement of the city fairly presents your financial position, the results of operations, and the changes in net position. If you look at your ACFR, it's about, I would say, 180 pages, and it also includes combining schedules, supplemental schedules. So in terms of those supplemental schedules, we are issuing an in relation to opinion. So in relation to the basic financial statements, those are also fairly presented. Internal controls over financial reporting. So this is another opinion that is required by the government auditing standards. And if we are not opining on the internal controls, but in the in our planning and determining the audit procedures, we do consider your internal controls. And if we note of any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we are required to report that to you. And we are happy to report that as far as for the year ended June 30, 2025, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies were noted. In terms of the single audit, so this is our compliance audit on your federal programs. So at the beginning, we review your schedule of expended federal programs, federal awards for the year. So we make a determination, so what are the programs that we need to audit for this year. So for 2025, we audited 2 major programs, so ALN 14239, so the Home Investment Partnership program amounting to 2.2 million. We also audited ALN 16922, which the city disbursed about 0.7 million, which is the Equitable Sharing Program. For the year, the city expended about 11.3 million. So for that audit, we covered about 25.7% of your total federal expended for the year. Now, the city is classified as a low-risk auditee. So for you to qualify as a low-risk auditee, you have to have a clean opinion. There's no material weaknesses noted. And then in the prior year, you should have completed the audit timely and submitted the data collection form as well timely to the Federal Clearinghouse. So being a low-risk auditee, we are only required to audit at least 20% of the federal programs. If you are not a low-risk auditee, we have to audit at least 40%. So that increases the scope of the audit if you're not a low-risk auditee. In terms of the result, again, no financial statement finding, no federal finding. Last year, we had one finding in a single audit, and we are required to see whether management was able to correct those findings, and we're happy to report that that has been effectively implemented during the year. Now for the financial reporting highlights. So this is the government-wide financial statement. So it includes both your governmental activities and business activities for the year. So for just looking at the total assets, you ended the year with about 833 million compared to only 776 million last year, or an increase of 56 million. For liabilities, total liabilities, you have 342 million versus 343 million last year, so a decrease of 1.9 million. So just want to highlight, like, you ended the year in terms of your net position, still a positive net position of 512.9 million versus 473 100 million last year, for an increase of about 40 million during the year. So a positive increase in your net position. The bulk of your net position still lies with your it's invested in capital assets, but still a positive restricted net assets and a positive unrestricted net assets at the end of the year. So here's the statement. It's basically your P&L statement for the government-wide. So it shows your revenues and expenses and the changes in net position for the year. So if you could look down at the end, you ended the year with a positive 40 million change in net position. So it means that your total revenues exceeded your expenses for 2025. So here are some financial reporting highlights only on the general fund. So for the general fund, you ended the year with 104 million versus 94 million last year, so increase of 9.7 million or 10%. Total liabilities was 13.1 million versus 7.3 million, or an increase of 5.8 million from the previous years. So at the end of the year, the fund balance was a positive 80.8 million. And you have an unassigned balance of 42.5 million. So that's always good to see that your general fund is positive. In terms of revenues and expenses for the general fund, again, you ended the year with a positive balance of 2.7 million. Compared to last year was a negative balance. You have negative results of your general fund of almost 2 million. So it was a swing of about 4.6 million from the previous years. So if you look at the total revenues, the increases came from taxes. So there was like higher property taxes due to better appraised value for the properties in 2025. And then for other revenues, the city was able to get a 5.9 rebate, federal rebate for the backup batteries that was installed within the city. And as well for the total expenditures, while it increased, it was not a major increase, just an increase of about 9% over last year, mainly like vehicle purchases and some increases in salaries, as well as, of course, the cost of installing that backup batteries. So in terms of comparing the general fund to the budgeted, the approved budget at the beginning of the year, it was a positive variance. So in terms of comparing your budgeted revenue versus actual revenue, it was the actual revenue was higher than budgeted, and then your expenses was actually lower than the budgeted revenue. So in terms of the performance of the general fund compared to the budget, it was a positive variance for the year ended 2025. In 2025, the city implemented a new accounting standard, so that's GASB 101, which is the compensated absences. So it resulted in a slightly higher compensated absences liability at year end. But it's not really material in the overall. If we compare the compensation liability from the previous year, it increased by about 250,000. For as far as the net pension and OPEB liability, at year end, the net pension liability was 155.9 million versus 169.4 million. And then your net OPEB liability was 72 million versus 69.1 million. So both liabilities, these are actually determined, so there's an actual calculation being performed. Any questions on the financial highlights?
Any questions from the dais?
No.
No, thank you.
So I'll end with the required communication to those charged with governance. So first one, our responsibility, we have issued engagement letter and have sent that to management. It was dated June 17, so that enumerates all our responsibilities. So basically saying that our main responsibility is really issuing an opinion on your financial statements, performing our audit in accordance with applicable standards, obtaining sufficient audit evidence for us to issue an opinion. We also issued another communication that's to the attention of the City Council, and that summarizes our plan, scope, and timing, as well as preliminarily identified significant risks. In terms of accounting principles that has been adopted for, or was adopted by the city for 2025. So that's GASB 101 and 102. So 102 did not really have an impact on the city. The 101, as I mentioned earlier, resulted in a slightly higher compensated liability at the end of the year. In terms of significant accounting policies, so we do review the accounting policies that's being implemented by the city to make sure that they are in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles in the U.S. And we found them to be in order, and it's being applied consistently. And we did not identify any significant accounting policies that lacked guidance or in any controversial area. We also did not find any significant or unusual transactions. For audit adjustments, we only identified 2 audit adjustments, and those were booked by management. And we are also not aware of any other uncorrected misstatements other than those that are clearly trivial or immaterial to the financial statements. We did not have any disagreements with management with regards to application of significant accounting principles, management's estimates, their basis, as well as disclosures in the financial statements. In terms of consultations with other accountants, we are not aware of any consultations made by management with regards to any accounting or auditing matters. There was also no significant issues arising from audit that was discussed or subject to correspondence with management that needs the attention of the City Council. We also did not encounter any significant difficulties in dealing with management during the audit. And actually, I want to take this opportunity, of course, to acknowledge Carolyn, of course, Marvin's team. The entire finance team has been very responsive. At each time we do an audit at the beginning, we do a planning meeting with management wherein we set timelines, expectations, and in the past, we've also assisted the city in terms of preparing the report. So for this year, Marvin's team took on that responsibility of really preparing the initial draft of the ACFR. And while taking that on, they were still able to meet the timeline that we've decided on at the beginning of the audit. So it's always a pleasure working with Marvin. They're very knowledgeable and very responsive to all our questions. So thank you. In terms of significant matters that required consultations, there was none that needs to be reported. Independence, as I mentioned, we are independent of the city, but it's a joint responsibility between us and, of course, members of the city council, members of management. So if you are aware of any instance that might impair our independence, we are requesting you to let us know, so at least we could address that. And in terms of significant communication between us and management, we only have the management representation letter. So that's a letter that management signs and provides us before we issue the report as final. For significant accounting estimates, so part of the financial statements, it includes accounting estimates. So we review management's judgment, the reasonable of judgment, the assumptions that they use. And these are the accounting estimates that are currently being reflected in the financial statements. So estimated useful life on the capital assets, of course, the net pension liability, the OPEB liability, the fair values of your investments, the estimate collectibility of your receivables, the claims payables at year end, the net present value of your future leases and subscription payments, which is the basis of calculating of the lease liabilities and your lease receivables, as well as the compensated absences liabilities. So all these estimates, we test the reasonableness of the assumptions, what are the basis of management's estimates. So we interview the management, and if we could do a recalculation, then we perform that recalculation just to make sure that it's reasonable. So in terms of new pronouncements that would affect the city in the future year, so for fiscal year 2026, we have 2 accounting pronouncements that will be effective. So GASB 103 and 104. So 103, it basically changes primarily the MD&A. So next year, it would have a prescribed 5 components that needs to be included in MD&A. It focuses more on the analysis of the numbers rather than just showing tables like increase, decreases, but it's really more narrating what happened during the year. It also, in terms of budgetary comparison, so for budget comparison for general fund and your special revenue fund, it is now required to be part of the supplemental schedule and not part of the basic financial statements, because currently it's part of the basic financial statement. So that part we have to change next year in terms of the city. Disclosure of certain capital assets. I think the one that would change here is if you have an asset held for sale and that sale is expected to happen within 1 year, then we are supposed to disclose that in the ACFR starting next year. For the following year, fiscal year 2025, GASB 105 will be implemented, so that's basically just additional disclosures on subsequent events. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Councilmember Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor. First, a comment. Thank you very much for the audit report. For the benefit of our football coach in the back, I'm going to make a football analogy. The city council, and some of us like to be the wide receivers and the quarterbacks and make the big plays and big showy. This is the blocking and tackling of what a city does. And if we don't do this right, it doesn't matter how good your receivers or your quarterbacks are. For year after year, our team wins awards for your accounting practices, and you keep us honest in obtaining those awards. And I really want to acknowledge your work, but specifically the work of our amazing staff to do this year after year. That is quite a feat, and there's a certain personality style that can do that. I'm not one of those people, but thank you for getting it done. I do have one question. You talked about internal control audits. There's a new danger lurking in data, and that's artificial intelligence. Do your control audits discuss the handling of our data and any use of AI in preparation of our accounting reports?
I think the auditing standards is slowly recognizing AI. I think they're developing new, procedures that we need to perform to specifically address AI. But currently, what we do is one, we involve our IT department so to look at, of course, data integrity. So that's because we can't really audit something that doesn't. It's not complete, or it doesn't really reflect the true transactions. So we partly rely on our IT department to assist us, but at the same time, every information or every schedule that are being provided to us, we have to test completeness, we have to look at supporting documentation, supporting contracts. So I think at this point, we could say that we're confident that, transactions are properly supported.
Awesome, thank you. Those are all my questions, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Ayala?
Thank you. I just want to piggyback on something that Councilmember Rhodes was mentioning, is that this really is the work that we don't want to do, but that people in our office really do. And the year over year of getting this right is a big deal, because I know Councilmember Rhodes had introduced me to a newsletter that we now get, a weekly electronic newsletter that kind of talks about everything, highlights from the state, what different cities are doing. And at least once a month, there's a little article in there about either a city that has missed one part of their audit and is now under investigation, or an individual who has done something in the city they weren't supposed to do in terms of the financial practices. And so congratulations to Marvin and his team, as you pointed out, because it really is a superb job they're doing to keep everything the way it's supposed to be in terms of both the numbers and the practices that we have. The second thing is, can you just quickly talk about what 105 is? What does subsequent events mean?
Subsequent events, those are events that happen after year end, but before we issue the report. So, for example, typically we issue the financial statement December. We issued last year, December 16, 2025. So the period from June 30, December 16, that's subsequent events. So that's a subsequent period. So anything that happened between that time, we have to identify whether these are recognized events or non-recognized events. Recognized events are those already recorded in the financial statements. For example, a receivable that's already recognized in your financial statement. But something happened, like maybe that receivable are no longer collectible. We find that there's a bankruptcy after year end. So those are recognized events, so we have to adjust the financial statements because it's already recognized, but it's no longer collectible. Non-recognized events are something that's not included in your financial statements, but it's significant. It happened after year end, but it's significant enough that warrants note disclosure in your financial statement. So maybe you issued a new debt. So it's not existing at year end, but it's significant. So we have to disclose that in the financial statements.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
So, thank you for the report, and good to have you here annually to do this. Very appreciate it. You mentioned that we are low-risk auditee, which I appreciate, and that basically sets the standards of the percentage or threshold of federal programs that have to be audited. It's just a curiosity, is there a similar requirement for state-funded programs, et cetera? Or
No, it only applies to federal. The single audit only applies to federal grants.
Very interesting. Thank you. I appreciate that. and this maybe piggybacks off to what Councilman Barela was saying. This is a very positive analysis, and we appreciate that. And I was just curious, is this, in your experience, because you service many different municipalities, is this normal for municipalities? And
No, actually, this is one of our better clients. Right? Whenever we have, of course, some like.
I'm not asking you to divulge secrets. It's just a
I'm not-
curiosity.
Without ranking my clients, but we do have clients that we have findings year over year.
Got it.
And then we have clients that's not ready. Like even though we have several planning meetings at the beginning, setting timelines, we sometimes have to restaff, and then adjust our timeline consistently throughout just to meet the deadlines. But for this audit, every year when we meet with Marvin's team at the beginning, it's always like, so this is the plan, and basically they stick to the plan. In fact, sometimes we get pressured because they bring their comments gets back to us pretty fast. So we have to answer right away.
Good job, Marvin.
So we're like pressured, okay, we have to address this immediately, because instead of taking a week, because normally we give our clients a week to review the draft report after we give our comments. But sometimes a day or two, it's back to us. So now we're forced to like, okay, we have to address it. So.
Well, thank you. Very appreciate your work, all of you, in this. Thank you so
Do
much.
good clients get a discount?
Yes, it actually, because we base our fee based on estimated time to complete. So if our clients are timely and they provide us the documents on time, and we don't have a lot of adjustments, then it reflects on the fee.
Double good, Marvin.
Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you for your comprehensive report. I'm always impressed by it every year. I think we do a great job, and I want to thank you and your team for doing such conscientious work for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. As somebody who performs audits and is audited, this is wonderful. So Carolyn, Marvin, thank you all for representing Simi Valley, doing a great job. And thank you for you and your team for continuing to do such good audits with us, keeping us on our toes. And thank you for everything you've done. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4, public statements. During this agenda item 4, the City Council will hear all public statements from persons who have submitted a speaker card. Agenda item 4 is a time allotted for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for public statements item 4 for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state the name and community residence for the record. Madam Mayor, unless you have any comments, we can begin public statements.
Please proceed.
Just a note, our timer is not working is not viewable to the public. So the mayor will.
I have access to it and the lights will still work, correct?
Thank you.
So the green light means 3 minutes. When you get the yellow light comes on, that means you have 30 seconds left. When the red light comes on, your time is up.
And Madam Clerk, how many speakers do we have this evening?
We have 14.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, are we going to, there is a public hearing, are we going to hear all 14, or are we going to?
Yes, I determined that was quick enough.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will call 3 names at a time so you know who you follow. Jill Abela, Sarah Burnson, and Ben Davis.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. My name is Jill Abela. I'm a resident of District 1, and I have a provocative question for you this evening. Wouldn't it be great for Simi Valley to have 3 school resource officers by the start of our next school year? Yeah, now I know you're seeing dollar signs, so and I do certainly understand our city's budget constraints. But now, I believe, is the ideal time to have a conversation with our school district about cost sharing for our SROs. Please, let's ask them to sharpen their pencils. It's budget season, right? So at the same time, please, let's consider adding one more SRO to strengthen coverage here. Ideally, Simi Valley would have 3 SROs, each assigned to 1 high school and 1 middle school. I encourage the City Council to act now and consider this approach. I think it's an investment in our youth and the safety of our community. Also, Agenda 9A, I didn't hear what City Manager Argerbright said if we took it off the agenda or not, but I had a quick comment on that. I just want to applaud, and I truly appreciate your efforts to provide competitive compensation so that the city may recruit and retain quality staff. I think that's important. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Burnson, and I'm here representing a nonprofit organization called All It Takes in Simi Valley. I'm also a marriage family therapist that works at a trauma center. And we have an event coming up for Mental Health May that we wanted to share with you. We think it can help build bridges within your community, but also within families and schools. It's for adults and youth. We have an event May 6th at Studio Movie Grill, and it's a free dinner is going to be served. There's going to be 2 separate events, one for the adults. They'll be watching one film, while the youth will be watching another. Conversations will be had in their groups, and then together they will meet and have a joint conversation. The goal is to bridge and to reach depth or be able to have conversations that we're not able to have now because we're so caught up in our phones that we're not connecting. And as someone who works with mental health, I know that connection is one of the biggest things that helps increase our mental health by having a connection to people and to communities. So we would really love for you to come. I know Councilman Ayala has already signed up. Thank you so much for your support. We'd love for you all to be able to attend. More importantly, we'd love for you to share the event and get people to come. It's from 5 to 8, free dinner and conversation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Do I leave this here? Fire? Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city staff. My name is Ben Davis, president of Piccola Tiny Homes here in Simi Valley. Thank you again for your time tonight. I've now come before you several times because the housing crisis is something we can't ignore, and the future generations of Simi Valley need more housing options. Tonight, I want to focus on one of the main concerns that has been raised, the fear that if movable tiny homes are allowed, then any RV could end up in someone's backyard and be called a home. I understand that concern, and I completely agree with the principle behind it. Simi Valley should not open the door to just any RV, and that is exactly why a clear ordinance matters. A movable tiny home is not the same thing as a typical RV, either in how it looks or how it is built. These homes are designed for full-time living. They are built with residential materials, require property utility connections, and city review. The sample ordinance and checklist I previously provided already lay out these distinctions in plain language. For example, a movable tiny home has residential siding. An RV has laminate or fiberglass siding. A tiny home has double-pane rectangular windows. An RV has single-pane rounded windows. A tiny home has no mechanical equipment on the roof. An RV has lots of mechanical equipment on the roof. A tiny home has a minimum insulation rating of R15 for the walls and R23 for the ceilings, and an RV has a minimum insulation rating of R3 for walls and R7 for ceilings. A tiny home cannot have room extensions or slide outs, and most RVs have room extensions and slide outs. In other words, this is easy to distinguish in code because the distinction has already been written. Simi Valley doesn't have to start from scratch. The framework already exists and has been passed in California 22 times. So tonight, I respectfully ask for one simple next step. Please allow the public and the council to see the staff report that has been drafted so this conversation can move into the open and we can make progress towards a brighter future for Simi Valley. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. The next three speakers, James McGillis, Aman Srijit, and Steve Thompson.
Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council and staff, I'm James McGillis, a proud resident here in Simi Valley. Recently, I received an email invitation from the city manager asking me to participate in an important survey of our residents. It was about short-term rentals. I indicated that I supported a ban and gave extensive reasons why. Looking at the original invitation, I noticed that the independent research firms would manage the survey and summarize the results, so my written responses could easily be ignored. The questions that followed could have come straight from one council member's list of suggested questions. What was their source? The questions favored a strongly regulated but legalized STR policy. At the end, I was asked if I would like to change my attitudes towards STRs. In the survey, there were none of the following questions. Would you like an STR next door? How about on both sides of your house? What if every home on your street converted to STR? Have you personally lived near an STR? Do you know anyone who cannot rent or lost their lease because STRs have taken over the market? Do you know any families who are unable to buy in Simi Valley because corporate buyers outbid them? Is it fair that an HOA can ban STRs, but non-HOA neighborhoods cannot? Did you know that having an STR nearby could reduce your property value? In my opinion, the independent survey was designed to get the biased answers desired by the dark money faction. We do not need a contractor filtering what the public will see. The results of this survey should be made public in their entirety. Why hide the actual data and responses? On tonight's agenda, item 9B, 1 year late, we will hear about Simi Valley City Council Code of Ethics. Having been called out twice by name and twice by inference, I hope this reading will put an end to one council member's personal statements of bias in favor of STRs. In honor of Arbor Day and Earth Day, this Tree City USA is in the process of permitting the destruction of the Simi Valley heritage oak tree and its many siblings. No, not the heritage oak tree cut down in 2007. This is the heritage oak tree residing on Oak Road for the past 500 years. For anyone interested in Chumash or tribal heritage, it is time to act. Contact me and help us save this priceless natural, cultural resource for future generations. If not, this entire relic forest could disappear forever. I plan to live here for a long time and fight for the values this city was founded on, which in my opinion are private home ownership, quiet, friendly neighborhoods, excellent schools, and a city government that cares about the environment and its residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, Pro Tem Litzter, and the rest of the City Council members. I hope you are doing well tonight. My name is Aman Srijit, and I'm in 8th grade at Hillside Middle School. I'm also currently part of the Simi Valley Youth Council. As a part of my Civic Seal project, I'm here to talk about an invisible but pressing matter in our community, our streetlights. Street lighting issues are a problem almost everywhere, including Simi Valley. In my research, I found community complaints on social media about dark zones and safety concerns in their neighborhoods. These issues include break-ins, thefts, and encounters with wildlife. Better lighting not only reduces these problems, but also assists law enforcement officers in investigating crime. Additionally, studies show that 77% of accidents in California occur during nighttime hours, and the Federal Highway Administration states that installing proper lighting can reduce nighttime crashes by 28 to 42%. So today, I've brought 2 recommended solutions. First is solar-powered LED poles. These reduce electricity costs and eliminate the need for underground trenching, cutting installation costs by up to 60%. Our neighboring city, Thousand Oaks, is replacing 7,434 sodium vapor lights with modern LEDs and expect to save $137,000 in energy costs. Second is motion sensing dimmer lights. Certain parts of Simi Valley prefer limited street lighting to preserve dark skies, so this approach improves safety while respecting community preferences. Now you may be asking where these lights should be installed. After research, I found parts of Township Avenue, Alamo Street, East Los Angeles Avenue, and nearby residential areas need the most attention. I have also prepared a document with the areas needing most attention. Finally, you may be concerned about funding. However, there are sources beyond local maintenance districts, such as state active transportation grants, the U.S. Department of Transportation Safe Streets and Roads for All grants, and the Southern California Edison Energy Efficiency rebates. These will help chip down the major costs of these great improvements. So my concluding request for the Simi Valley City Council is to conduct or issue an audit of these proposed areas and move forward with any necessary improvements to make Simi Valley safer. I also suggest adding a street light request form to the City Council website so residents can report dark areas and request for better lighting. When conducting my own research, I found a maintenance request form that did not include streetlights. Lastly, I would like to encourage the audience to take a look at their neighborhoods and take up action if applicable. Thank you for your attention and have an amazing rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. He did great. He had 4 seconds left. Wonderful.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Steve Thompson, and I've had a short-term rental in Simi Valley for 5 years. I'd like to start with examples of people who actually stay at my home. Over the past few years, I've hosted guests in town for extended medical situations that needed quiet, stable place to stay for weeks at a time. I've hosted families relocating to the area that needed temporary housing while searching for a permanent home. About 2 years ago, I hosted a team of 5 drone pilots for 5 weeks. Their job was to fly their drones over all electrical lines and transformers throughout Simi Valley. They were able to detect any sparks, identify failing equipment, and locate trees in contact with power lines that are serious fire hazards. What they were doing directly contributed to the safety of all residents in Simi Valley. And with drones and the amount of equipment they had, there's no way they could have operated out of a hotel. Right now, I have a Simi Valley family of 4 staying in my home because a plumbing leak flooded their house. With kids in school, homework to be done, and the need to cook meals, a hotel is simply not a reasonable option. This is the 5th such family who has stayed in my home for the same reason. One family needed to stay for 2 months. These are not party groups. These are Simi Valley families who need something that traditional hotels simply don't provide, and they are important parts of the community. Over the past 2 months, I've spoke with many local STR hosts. One thing that stands out to me is how many of these properties are owner-occupied with hosts living on site. Because of this, I strongly encourage the city to consider allowing STRs with the hosts living on site. This creates built-in accountability, maintains neighborhood integrity, and supports responsible homeowners who are part of the community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
The next 3 speakers, Alin Eason, Ivana Chrisman, and Christy Grayson.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, City Council members, City Manager, and City Attorney. I am Alin Eason, and I have lived in Simi Valley almost 42 years. City Manager Samantha Argerbright, please inform the public here tonight if staff is currently working on an ordinance for banning short-term rentals in addition to the ordinance for regulating STRs. When short-term rentals is brought back to the City Council agenda in May, both ordinances should be considered. Having both an ordinance to regulate and an ordinance to ban would help the City Council make a more informed, intelligent, and impartial decision. This would be in following with the city's Code of Ethics and Conduct under your stated 18 guiding principles. In particular, number 1, act in the public interest. Number 6, decisions based on merit. Also in your statement of purpose of that code, it is stated public officials should be independent, impartial, and fair in their judgment and actions. You need not be unduly influenced by speakers who are unwilling to state their city of residence and are here promoting their own financial gain. Some speakers who reside in a neighboring city where STRs are banned have come before this council to sing the praises of STRs while not having the misfortune of having to live next to one. Some might consider that hypocritical. Interestingly enough, probably not one of you on this council would want to live next to one. All residents need to come and let the city council know how you feel. It could make a difference. Let your voices be heard. Don't expect that others can do it for you. The final outcome will be in all of your hands. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, City Council. I'm Ivana Chrisman, and I'm a resident of Simi Valley. I'm here tonight to talk about many different organizations in our city and ways to give back. First, I'm so happy the dispatchers had a great event, and our Rotary Club was so honored to be a part of that, helping put it together. I'm very grateful for all of our first responders. But I'm here today to talk about many different ways to give back this weekend. I will be running for KC's team for Gigi's Playhouse fundraiser. That's called, I had to write it down, Gigi's 5K Dash for Down Syndrome. If you don't want to join Casey's team because you don't want to support me, you can join some other team. It's a great event. You don't want to miss it. It's a great way to give back to a great organization. And if you miss on that event, I'm also running for the Samaritan Center with their Second Chance Prom Queen event. There's so many great people that have been nominated. I'm looking at you, Richard, in the back, that have been nominated for the Second Chance Prom Queen and King event. And I hope you can donate. If you can't donate, you can like, share, participate in many different ways in these events. I hope I see you this weekend, many other weekends. I'm Ivana Chrisman. I'm running for City Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, council members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christy Grayson, Navy veteran and a resident of Simi Valley. I'm here tonight to make a couple public service announcements, just like everybody else here tonight. That's great. As a member of several veteran service organizations, I would like to invite everyone to a couple upcoming events planned by our city's veterans groups and various civic organizations. The first is Memorial Day, Monday, May 25th. A ceremony will take place at 10 a.m. at the El Rancho Simi Pioneer Cemetery. Members of our community come out early and place flags at the grave sites of veterans buried there. The program that follows reminds us to remember those who never returned home, those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms, and those who served with honor. It is also time to lift up the families who will always mourn their loss. The second is Flag Day, Sunday, June 14th. The program will start at 1 p.m. in the Veterans Court at the Simi Valley Town Center. This is a day to honor our nation's flag, and as it happens, it's the Army's 251st birthday, but we'll celebrate anyway. In conclusion, I hope you make it out to these upcoming inspirational events being celebrated in our community, by our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The next three speakers, Michael Shaw, Ken Hurst, and Frank Tomlinson.
Sorry, I'm a little slow, guys. Moved too much ice this weekend. Hi, I'm Michael Shaw from Santa Susana. Nice talking to everybody. And I didn't show up tonight just to complain. But I have to say, Ryan does a great job. Our youth council is great. All you can see is just wonderful things out of those guys. It's awesome to see. Matter of fact, I think a lot more highly of that council than I think of some other councils I talk to. But one of the things, nobody said anything. Happy 420, you guys. It's Arbor Day. We're talking about landscape. But what happened to our landscape on the freeway? I know we don't look over that, but we can't even see the ugly concrete anymore because the weeds are so high. The poor guys with the STRs, the drone operators. And I think to myself, well, now I got 5 trucks or 4 trucks outside of my house. And are any of those guys vetted to make sure they're not a sexual predator? But they're in my neighborhood and I didn't get any say so. But they could be affecting my life so somebody can make a buck. I'm not so hot on that. I'm kind of stuck up about my little neighborhood. Okay, whatever happened to the ugly and then you guys with the bicycle master plan. Okay, I congratulated you. Okay, great. But then I go talk to everybody at the school board and everybody at the park district and they go, God, did you guys slam them? Well, how about now, since it's just a framework, we can use that framework and collectively start some conversation about how best to address bike lanes and pedestrian safety. The county's going to do the thing over there we're going to have next month, over at Sycamore and Cochrane. So we need to start concentrating on bicycle safety and not just try and outlaw e-bikes, because that isn't going to do it. All right. And then I'll shut up in a minute. But I'll give you all a chance to say anything. About a month ago, I came in here and I talked about the problem of racism in our schools and how it just broke my heart listening to all those young kids comment and tell us about it. And so I'm asking any one of you, has anybody given any thought to what we can do about that? And I'll go sit over here, and if you want to comment, go ahead. If you want to ignore me like normally, I'm used to that too. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Hello again. My name is Ken Hurst, and I live in Simi Valley. Simi Valley Police Department Sergeant Zasik, and please forgive me if I butchered your name, made a useful presentation on April 6th about the police department use of FLOC. Thanks very much to the police department and to the council members who made it possible. I have raised the issue of blank reasons in the audit files. Sergeant Zasik, in his presentation April 6th, stated that in his audits, there were no blank reasons. I have no doubt that Sergeant Zasik is correct about the data he is looking at. I can prove that the data that I am looking at has blank reasons, about 15% of the time on April 5th and 19% of the time on April 19th. Why is this portion of the audit files different? That seems strange. On another audit issue, the audit files of other cities sometimes add or drop entries depending on when the audit is accessed. It happens about 3 to 7% of the time in other cities. I compared an audit from April 5th in Simi Valley versus the April 19th audit. They had 12 days of overlap, 122 records. I found 1 deleted entry and 1 added entry. That is 2 differences out of 122 records, or about 1.6%. While this sample is too small to make a good estimate of the frequency, we can definitely state that Simi Valley FLOC data, the audit logs do show this problem. At the end of February, several local law enforcement agencies in California found that FLOC had reset access to allow FLOC data to be searched by non-California agencies, contrary to their contracts and contrary to state law. FLOC has essentially said, oops, and it won't happen again. And by the way, the restricted audit content makes it harder to audit, harder to monitor. Why does the publicly available audit file redact the agency accessing the FLOC data? Why are there blanks in the publicly available reasons but not in the Simi Valley internal version? And why are those particular ones blank? Why do records come and go from what should be a fixed audit log? What determines which ones come and go, and which ones come and which ones go? The Fourth Amendment states, quote, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched, the persons or things to be seized. In 2018, the Supreme Court ruled in Carpenter versus the U.S. that it is a Fourth Amendment violation for police to access
Mr.
cell
Hurst, your time is now up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Frank Tomlinson with Vets and Valor. I came a couple weeks ago and introduced the idea of being able to use the retired banners that we have around our city as a way to connect with veterans that are separating from their branch that they're coming home from. I just wanted to fill in some of the gaps because I left kind of quick. My son had actually come home from a 5-month deployment the day before. So I left a little early. I'll stay around a little bit tonight so that if there's any questions later. But some of the things that I realized that benefit not just veterans in our community that I had mentioned last time that are, not connected with, because it's hard to connect with some of them. I estimate about 3,500 veterans that are rated at 0. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, if a veteran is rated up at 100% and they're single, they get about $4,000 a month of tax-free income from the federal government. To our community, so that makes a big difference for any single veteran, but to our community, that would be about $14 million that would be flowing into our local community from federal tax dollars. This is already money that's set aside. A lot of older veterans don't understand that. They feel like that they've already done their service and they don't want to bother taking what they feel like would be taken away from younger generations. But the reality is we know with the way that government budgets work, that money's set aside for veterans. So that's something that they can take advantage of. The other thing, we realized that through SBA, we're able to connect with veteran-owned businesses. And what we want to do is build a robust network so that we're able to, when these young people separate, they can come. We would actually like to make it more of a celebration for them, where we actually have some sort of party event celebration when they come and pick up their banner. But when they do that we can introduce them to some of our local businesses that are veteran-owned that already are looking for veterans when they come out of the service. Some of them actually go out to Fort Irwin, 29 Palms, to look for recruits that they can actually bring back and employ. So anyway, if you'd consider that, like I said, I'll stick around if you have any questions, and maybe I can fill in any more gaps that I left out this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last two speakers, Todd Taylor and Jamie Sanchez.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, City Councilman. My name is Todd Taylor. I am been a resident of Simi Valley for about 17 years. I didn't write anything this evening, so just doing right off the cuff. I moved to Simi Valley to get away from the San Fernando Valley, and I love Simi Valley, and I appreciate everything that Simi Valley has to offer. I'm a homeowner here. My wife and I have been married just over 13 years, and we started an STR about 8 years ago. Currently, actually in a long-term rental that we're very fortunate about, which I understand is difficult to find sometimes. But in my experiences, we have met some amazing people. Most of the people that come here to Simi Valley are family, people looking to visit with family. Family may not have enough room in their own existing home. My particular situation, it's a small ADU, it's 350 square feet. We have a maximum of 2 people that we allow. A lot of these people, they may come here for work and various things, coming to the Reagan Library and so forth. I'm also a small business owner and a private investigator, and I gotta tell you, I was scared to have strangers come to my house from everything that I see, and I've been a PI now for 27 years, so I've seen a few things. I've met some amazing people, and I was very surprised. I've been very surprised at some of the people that I have met in my home. And quick story, young man came here from France, and this was during COVID, And the bus schedule that we had found online to help him get around was wrong. And it did not take him up to the Reagan Library. That whole schedule was canceled. And so we helped him out. We didn't realize it for a couple of days, the issues he was having. And my wife drove him to the Reagan Library when he could not get there. We picked him up and so forth. And I remember this young man one day asked for a ride, and he was dressed in a suit. And my wife said to him, why are you in a suit? He says, because it's President's Day. This is something that's important to your country, and I want to show respect. These are the types of people that we've had in our home. And so I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Before I begin, I want to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Chumash people. I honor their enduring connection to this land and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. Good evening, my name is Jamie Sanchez. As this month comes to a close, I want to recognize that April is the month of the military child. As a Navy veteran, I've learned that when one person serves, the whole family serves, especially the children. My older children were born at the Naval Medical Center in San Diego, and I still remember the saying, your kids don't come in your sea bag. But the truth is, they carry the weight anyway. They carry the missed birthdays, the empty chairs, the fear they don't always have words for. No child should have to carry that, and yet so many do quietly. Because sometimes, as veterans, we are taught to suffer in silence, and that silence doesn't end when the service does. It echoes in into our homes and into our children's lives. This past weekend, while my 9-year-old was having the time of her life competing at the Junior Olympics, something I had to miss, and yet grateful for the community I have who had supported her when I couldn't, because I was making a short trip to San Diego so my 18-year-old son could say his final goodbyes to his father, a fellow veteran who was only 43 years old. That is why I refuse to stay silent. I want my children, Layla, Jared, and Brianna, because I want to acknowledge them because my service didn't just belong to me, it shaped them and it cost them too. They are the reason I stand here, because behind every veteran, there's a child who learned how to be strong too soon, who learned how to say goodbye too many times or for the last time, and sometimes who was left to carry a loss they never chose. So if we are going to honor the uniform, we have to be willing to see the families and the children who live with its cost, because their sacrifice doesn't end when the service does, it lives on to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4A, City Council comments regarding public statements.
Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you. I will start with the kind of group at first for the military ones. Thank you for everything. Did you have fun at Junior Olympics? My daughter was there too, so yes. All right. So thank you for that. And then for Ms. Grayson, thank you for sharing all of the different events that are going on and for you helping to plan that and make it happen. And then for Mr. Tomlinson, I think people, when they hear of the company Valor, your main business of mortgaging kind of is secondary to really what you do, right? In terms of what you provide to the veterans. City Manager, do we have an update on the request that we had received?
Yes, so staff is still working on the memo for information on retiring the military banners. So currently, we don't really do a formal retirement ceremony. Military banners are provided to the families if they want them. We do ask for that. Sometimes they're not in great shape by the time they're done. But we also are looking at kind of the considerations that council needs to look at for referring folks to a private business in this case. So that memo will be coming to you guys soon. Staff's working on it this week.
Okay, so we'll hear something soon on that. Amon left, but Mr. Fowler, I'm sure you will see him soon. Let him know that he did a great presentation when the next time you see him, and then throwing it back to the city manager again. Remind me the STR date. I think we switched it. But
May 11th.
May 11th. So for those of you who are, I know there's quite a few of you who are really interested in that, but May 11th would be the date that we're reviewing that. And the other question around the what are we going to see?
So the STR item will include an ordinance that has not only regulation, but there will also be an option for an ordinance to ban STRs. So should the council want to see that and want to consider that based on the Planning Commission recommendation. So I've been working with Environmental Services Director Stratis Peros and his team. So there will be an ordinance that also has that option to ban STRs. But we will be considering that item on May 11th.
Very good. Okay, thanks everyone for coming tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Litster.
So I will try to comment on things that you did not comment, because ditto to all that you just said. Thank you very much. Jill, yes, we would love to have dedicated school resource officers, but particularly would love to be partnering with the schools in funding that. And so I'm hopefully that they will be interested in your suggestions and we can have that discussion. Sarah, who came forward and talked about All It Takes on May 6th at Studio Movie Grill. Thank you for giving more details about that. In fact, I spoke with Lori, I don't know if she's still here, spoke with Lori, who is the author of the book that you shared, and she is partnering, she's authoring and overseeing that. It looks to be a wonderful, wonderful event. She didn't mention it, but as I understand, it's open for youth ages 10 and older, so there will be something for that age group of youth. And so again, a great opportunity, and I think that speaks to some of your concerns about what's being done in our community, but glad that that's taking place on May 6th. Ben, thank you for showing up and educating us every time. I have read your materials, but it was great to be reminded that the differences in sidings, windows, roofing, insulation, pull-outs, et cetera, anyway, and that it's passed elsewhere. So thank you for, again, educating us. I will say, actually, I am going to duplicate something you suggested, and that's when you have a wonderful articulate eighth grader who not only states the problem, gives you solutions, and including funding and how to identify it. I mean, that is a well-presented proposal, and so please commend him. In fact, as I was taking notes, and I will read carefully what he offered, I very much appreciated his suggestion that there be something on our city website that actually lets people articulate things. It feels very dark where I live. Can we have a street light or something? And so adding that to the website. So I'm certainly willing to make that motion later on, but again, please commend. I know it is late for school night, and I know they're off, but I wanted just to add to that. And also, just with the discussion landscaping on the freeway that you mentioned, I will say that the city has actively been speaking with the Department of Transportation. Have we received any response from them?
They were out working on the freeway today.
So just sharing that. They're working on, hopefully there's some results, but there is certainly that concern. Anyway, thank you all. Lots of great topics discussed. I won't duplicate, but again, we appreciate all of your comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can be brief because you guys have covered a lot of it. I did want to circle back to Jill's comment about the resource officers and just say that, and Jill, where are you? God. One of the things that's unique about Simi Valley that not many cities do is we pay for the 2 resource officers instead of the school district paying for them. And yes, I think there should be a third. And no, I don't think it should be our cost. And I think the school district's been stonewalling us. And so when we get to that conversation with them, I actually look forward to it. Mr. McGillis, I'm going to use your name again in response to your comment, as is allowed from the dais. I want to thank you for coming each time and expressing your opinion. The fact that you got the survey, I think because it was a random selection of people that took the survey, the fact that you were invited to take it is, I think, proof that we are having a unbiased and professional audit done. And I can categorically say that none of the questions that I suggested were even taken into consideration by the company. It was not passed to them in any way, and so the questions were professional questions that have been used in other cities, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results. Who knows? They may say that the Simi Valley residents want to ban STRs. I don't know what the answer to that's going to be, but that's how unbiased, professional, comprehensive work is done. But thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think it was Krista about the veterans ceremonies. Christine, thank you. Christy? I can't hear. I'm so sorry. Thank you for bringing those to attention. I'm putting them on my calendar. And Ivana also left. The dispatcher event, which I'm going to talk about later in council comments, was spectacular, and I'm proud our Rotary Club could put that on. So those are the end of my comments.
Thank you. Councilmember Judge.
Really not to rehash everything because everybody spoke pretty well up here about stuff going on, but I want to thank Frank for coming out. I want to thank Christy for coming out and putting on making those veterans issues front and center, especially the one about veterans not getting their due on the VA. I think that's very important that we do this. And those banners do mean a lot to veterans, even though we might not have a formal process. My brother is a retired Army colonel, and he did almost 30 years in the Army, graduated from West Point. When I presented him with his banner, it's hanging proudly in his love room. So they love those things. Veterans love to get those banners. I think that's one of the most awesome things we've done in a long time for the veteran community. And I'm really looking forward to making sure that we can work together with them. I want to thank everybody else for coming out and expressing your opinions, and Michael Shaw. I was actually a witness today to Caltrans cleaning up our freeway, doing out there weed whacking and cutting stuff down. I appreciate your comments on that because I too comment to the Caltrans district rep that serves on the VCTC board with me, and every time I see her, I say something about our freeways. Number one, I want sound walls. Number two, it's clean up the freeway, please. Get the weeds out of there. But they're actually doing it. I think that was also a combined effort with our city management, sending them a strongly worded letter. So thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Thank you. My comments include, yes, Ms. Abele brought up the SROs. That is already a priority of this city council, is to ensure that we have SROs in our schools. At the same time, we have a tri-agency meeting coming up soon, and that will be one of the things we will discuss with the school. Let's see. Amon did a great job. I love it when you get a problem and solutions all in one, especially from an 8th grader. That was just wonderful. So Ryan, congrats on that. Chrissy, I just wanted to also mention thank you for coming out and especially listing the different things that are available and the events that people can go to help support our veterans. Mr. Shaw, yes, we did send a letter to Caltrans. I was going to cover you on that. And we can also bring up the bicycle plan with the at the tri-agency meeting. I believe we reached out to a couple of them and we just didn't get responses. So we will kind of put our thumb to the needle on that one, thumb to the pin. Mr. Tomlinson, thank you always for the veterans. And Jamie, Ms. Sanchez, thank you for being here. I was going to bring something up at the end of the meeting regarding it being military child month. My nephew just deployed this morning, leaving three kids. So it's very important that we as a community support our veterans, support our active military and their families, because I see that a lot too. So, and you personally experienced it. So thank you for bringing that up tonight. So that's all for my comments.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is public hearings. This is the time for testimony on public hearings on the consideration of matters as presented on this agenda. Let the record show that due notice was given as required by law, and an affidavit to this effect is on file in the office of the City Clerk. All comments submitted by email have already been provided to the City Council. However, they will not be made part. They will be made part of the record. However, they will not be read by the City Clerk this evening. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public testimony item 5 for a period of no more than 5 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community residence for the record. Comments shall be limited to matters relevant to the item on the agenda and may be ruled out of order if comments are unrelated to the item. The reports of city staff relating to these matters shall be made part of the record of this meeting. If you challenge in court any of the City Council decisions made here tonight, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at this public hearing. The time within which judicial review must be sought is governed by California Code of Civil Procedure, Section 1094.6. Item 5A, a public hearing to consider the Community Development Block Grant allocations and the draft fiscal year 2026-27 action plan, and Administrative Officer Julia Ramirez and Senior Management Analyst Lindsay Skeringe are here to present this item.
Okay, before we begin, are there any ex parte communications to report from the council? Thank you. Please proceed.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight, we are conducting a public hearing to solicit comments for the upcoming fiscal year 2026-27 Draft Action Plan, inclusive of the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, program. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, requires the city to prepare an annual action plan outlining how Community Development Block Grant, CDBG funds, will be used to address community needs identified in the Regional Consolidated Plan. While the CDBG Advisory Committee provides funding recommendations, the City Council makes the final determination and authorizes the submission to HUD. The fiscal year 2026-27 CDBG entitlement amount was released by HUD on April 3rd, 2026. The city is expected to receive $651,387 in CDBG entitlement funding. Since this information was not available when the draft action plan was published for review, an estimated amount of $650,000 was used. The final action plan submitted to HUD will reflect actual funding amounts and the City Council approved allocations. CDBG funding allows for 3 categories of expenditures: public service, capital improvement, and administration. Public service funding is capped at 15%, and administration is limited to 20% of the total entitlement amount. Public service application projects operate on a 2-year application cycle, so as fiscal year 2026-27 represents the second year of the cycle, no new applications were accepted. Previously approved fiscal year 2025-26 projects will continue into the second year, contingent upon participation, compliance with HUD and city requirements, and receipt of HUD funding. On March 11th, 2026, the CDBG Advisory Committee held a public hearing to review applications for funding and solicit comments on the draft fiscal year 2026-27 action plan. One microenterprise application, which falls under the capital improvement category, was received. Consistent with city policy, the remaining funds will be allocated to the annual Minor Streets project. In accordance with HUD requirements, the draft action plan was made available for a 30-day public review period beginning on March 19th. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt the committee's funding recommendations and make a final determination of projects and programs to be funded in fiscal year 2026-27, authorize the submission of the fiscal year 2026-27 action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and authorize the city manager to finalize and execute grant agreements and related documents in connection with the fiscal year 2026-27 CDBG Grant Action Plan. This concludes staff presentation. We are available for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff from City Council members? Councilmember Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor. I think we'll have others' questions, but in Table 2, capital improvement category, the Upwards Care Boost is in capital improvements, and I wanted clarification as to why it's in that category.
It's a micro enterprise, so it's considered economic development, which the way HUD has separated the categories, it falls within the capital improvements project per HUD.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Ayala?
Thank you. Does the CDBG funding, when does it come into the city, the coffers? Does it ever come to us, or does it go straight to the organizations?
It's reimbursement based, so we'll get an entitlement amount as we allocate the funding and the funds are used. We reimburse the recipients, and we draw down from that amount directly through HUD with HUD.
And then is it a use it or lose it thing? So if one of the organizations decides not to use it, we just don't, that money can't be reallocated in any other way?
You don't lose it. It will be reallocated into the next
Fiscal year.
Fiscal year. Yeah, that's not in process.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster.
You referenced that the allocation for next year, I believe, is $651,387, I think, if I wrote that down correctly. How is that decided, or what is the formula that determines how much we are qualified for?
They do have a formula, and I believe I wrote down a little bit of the specifics. So let me pull that up just so I have.
Well, I'm impressed that we came so close in our estimate with it. So clearly we know the formula. We're with 1,000 off.
We don't. It is a best guess. They do have a whole allocation formula that they do come up with. It does include it's federal funds, so it is throughout the United States. I don't have the exact specifics of how they come up with that, but I can get that to you.
That's fine. It was just a curiosity. And I should have.
I got lucky.
Didn't mean to blindside you, but it was just a curiosity. Yeah.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, at this time, we would like to open the public hearing for anyone in the city council chambers wishing to be heard on this matter.
Madam Mayor, we do have 2 speaker cards. The first one is Doug Landon.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and City Council members. Just want to make a couple of quick comments. The first one was on the 2026-27 action plan. When I read it, very detailed plan, fantastic. Really acknowledge the city's continued investment in homeless services, as it mentions, including case management, supportive programs. These services are essential to make a meaningful difference in helping individuals move to stability. As the city continues this work, encourage consideration of full continuum of care, particularly how individuals move to homelessness to permanence, supportive housing, as it's mentioned in the report. Many communities find that having options between those two, being homeless and permanent supportive housing, such as transitional housing, can strengthen effectiveness of services already provided. Exploring what that could look like in Simi Valley through data, partnerships, and planning could be valuable next steps in building a more complete, effective system. Thank you for your consideration, if that's appropriate, to add to the CBDG report. And then relevant to the CBDG for 2026, we appreciate your consideration for funding Merit Centers, case management services for the unhoused individuals in Simi Valley. We do look forward to that. And we respectfully request the city provide additional guidelines for navigating the safe system during the implementation so we can execute the upcoming contract quickly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie Ford.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and City Council members. My name is Melanie Ford from Upwards. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the proposed CDBG Annual Action Plan and really thank you for your continued investment of Simi Valley's in-home daycare providers and the families they serve and the BOOST program. So BOOST supports low to moderate income family child care providers in strengthening and growing their business. We do that through personalized coaching. Providers will work with experienced care specialists to build a customized business action plan that covers marketing, enrollment, finances, staffing, and more. We also give them free access to our child care management system, which is a custom platform that handles all the administrative side of running an in-home daycare, which and also gives them tools to improve the quality of care with lesson planning and whatnot. It's important to note that the graduates of the BOOST program will retain free access to this platform beyond the program year. So the result is that they maximize enrollment, increase revenue, create local jobs, and expand access to quality care that helps families get back to work. As you may know, home-based childcare providers in Simi Valley earn on average less than $18 an hour, and many face financial instability. At the same time, over 60% of children under 6 lack access to licensed care spot, which leaves thousands of families, especially mothers and single parents, shift workers, struggling to find care, which limits their ability to fully participate in the workforce. BOOST is a proven model, so we're only able to launch the first year right now, We're excited for that. But just for reference, over the course of the last 2 years, we've mentored over 500 family childcare providers, created 180 jobs. We've grown provider revenue by an average of 25% and expanded childcare slots by 30 to 50%, all within the first year. So with Council's approval, we'll be able to support 8 new local microenterprise daycare owners, create 3 teaching assistant jobs, and serve at least over 100 Simi Valley families. Thank you again for supporting these small businesses that are so critical to our local economy, and I'm always happy to answer any questions, both as a representative, but first, I was as a parent who will forever be grateful for the teachers who cared for my little ones. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, that was the last speaker.
Thank you. Does staff desire to respond to any comments or issues raised?
No comments.
Thank you. Are there any further comments or questions from the city council members? Seeing none, this hearing is now closed. I will now entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to adopt the CDBG Advisory Committee funding recommendations, make the final determination of projects and programs to be funded in fiscal year 2026-27, authorize the submission of the fiscal year 26-27 action plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, and authorize the city manager to finalize and execute grant agreements and related documents in connection with the fiscal year 26-27 CDBG grant action plan.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ayala?
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Yes.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We may now proceed to the next item.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar, and there are no resolutions for your consideration this evening.
Councilmember Litster, excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Litster.
I move passage of consent items 1 through 3.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Ayala?
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Yes.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. City Council, next on the agenda is item 8A, adopt a joint resolution approving the memorandum of understanding with the Simi Valley Engineers Association. The reading of the resolution is as follows. Resolution number 2026-09 and WWD-304, a joint resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley and the Board of Directors of Ventura County Waterworks District Number 8, adopting the memorandum of understanding between the City of Simi Valley and the Simi Valley Engineers Association. And Assistant City Manager Luis Garibay and Senior Human Resources Analyst Shannon Nash are here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. This is the first year the standalone labor agreement for the engineers group, which encompasses 20 active employees plus another 3 vacant positions. There are 8 job classifications within this unit, 3 of which are not actively utilized at this time. The term of this agreement is approximately 38 months from April 6th of this year through June 30th, 2029. The CME Flex benefit for the 2026 plan year remains the same and is then increased to $2,406 per month for the 27 and 28 plan years, with an additional increase to $2,575 per month in the 2029 plan year. The opt-out amount remains the same. Year 1 adjustments include a one-time payment of $2,639, plus a 3% salary range adjustment that is also applied to employees. The first phase of range adjustments towards market median will be made effective December 28th of 2026. In year 2, the second market median adjustment will be made, followed by an additional 3% adjustment to salary ranges and employee pay, with the bottom 5% of all salary ranges being eliminated at that time. In year 3, the salary ranges will again be adjusted to achieve market median under the compensation study, and then increased by 3%, which will also be applied to employee pay. The 3-year cost of the implementation is estimated at $1.1 million, with approximately $200,000 for year 1 costs being absorbed by staffing vacancies. The costs for years 2 and 3 will be included in future budgets. At this time, staff recommends the City Council adopt Joint Resolution number 2026-09 and WWD-304 to approve the MOU with the Simi Valley Engineers Association. That concludes staff's presentation. We're available for questions.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
No, I was just going to make the motion.
Thank you.
I move to adopt joint resolution number 2026-09 and resolution number WWD-304 to approve the memorandum of understanding with employees represented by the Simi Valley Engineers Association.
Second.
First and second, call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Ayala?
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Yes.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9A, Citywide Compensation Study Consultant Report, and Deputy Human Resources Director Jennifer Gutierrez is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council. On June 10th, 2025, the City Council held an off-site goal-setting retreat, during which staff presented compensation data for sample positions to indicate overall salary competitiveness. The data showed that the city's compensation falls below market rates, making it challenging to recruit and retain candidates across departments, including public safety. At the conclusion of the retreat, the City Council set 9 focus area goals, including ensure competitive compensation and succession planning for the police department and city staff. To determine the city's compensation disparity, funding was included in the fiscal year 25-26 annual budget to conduct a citywide compensation study. Staff engaged Public Pay LLC, formerly Ralph Anderson and Associates, which conducted the city's 2017 classification and compensation study. I want to point out a correction to the financial impact section of the staff report. Since both of the general unit and engineers groups already have agreements to move their positions to the median, the subtotal at the bottom of page 5 should have also been applied to the charts on page 6 for the 2.5% and 5% below the median to ensure a fully accurate grand total for each. That's a lot in one paragraph. With that, I will turn it over to Doug Johnson of Public Pay to present the study's results.
All right, good evening. I have a short presentation here to go through. Great, okay. So I'll just go through this quickly and then entertain questions at the end. I think a good starting point is to ask why these compensation surveys are done. Our firm does these kinds of compensation surveys for city government, county government, special districts, public agencies throughout California and the Western United States. The main objective in doing a survey is to provide data so that you can make an informed decision and be very strategic about where you position your compensation plan relative to peer organizations. This is an assessment of what other agencies are paying, and it kind of helps you in terms of being able to provide a framework so that you can make a decision that's not made in a vacuum using a dartboard, using dice, et cetera. There's the additional recognition that in California in particular, that any kind of disputes with respect to data, salary decisions and so forth in a meet and confer process, that will be something that goes to fact-finding or some other adjudication process, and those processes are very data-driven. So there again, that's why we do surveys, is to be able to obtain this information so that you can have that information. The end objective is that you want to optimize your ability to recruit and retain employees, because employees are the service providers for this organization. And so in order to be able to provide good community services, you need an adequate workforce to do that. What you are doing is normal business for an organization, and it is done the same in private organizations. The difference is here it's transparent. There's data that's transparent. It's a public process. In a private company, they do their own internal compensation studies, and it's not something that any of us learn about. But they do the same kind of data-driven analysis to position their compensation plans that you do. The survey agencies that we utilized are ones that have been historically used by the city. So you can see that this particular chart breaks down the agency. We show population as just kind of a easy kind of size indicator. We show driving distance. We also show the county that these cities are in, and then those columns show the different employee groups. So we have SEIU, SVEA, Management, Police Management Association, and POA. So those entities, those employee groups will have different groups of agencies that they survey. And then we also have some supplemental data that we collected in this survey for the sanitation wastewater jobs and for the transit jobs, because particularly for transit, there wasn't enough data in these agencies to provide those transit data for those transit operations types of jobs. In terms of how we utilize this data, there is an additional step. Essentially, the data that we're collecting is driving the whole compensation structure. You have equity relationships between managers and analysts and professionals and technicians. You have vertical compaction salary relationships between a lead worker, a supervisor, a manager, a director. So all that data needs to be utilized as a foundation on top of all the unique job classifications or job titles that the city has. So we're essentially balancing the internal relationships, the internal organization structure, and that market data, bringing it into a new updated compensation plan. A key part of developing this compensation plan is where do you want to position yourself relative to the market agencies. For most public agencies, that's somewhere between the median and 75th percentile. So median would be the 50th percentile. So that would be a point in the data that's the exact middle. If you position yourself there, half the agencies pay above that point, half below. If you position yourself at the 75th percentile, and I have many clients that do that, only a quarter of the agencies pay more, and you're going to be positioning yourself above 75% of the agencies in the marketplace. What really drives this decision is what do you need to do to recruit and retain? What have you done historically? Is there a desire to maintain that practice? And also there's a component in terms of how much does it cost. You can't set an objective to say we want to be at 75th percentile or 80th percentile and not have the funds in your budget to sustain that market position over time. So that's a key part of doing that analysis and then translating that into cost so you can then make a policy decision with respect to how you best position the compensation plan for the city. In terms of the process, the great thing about working in an environment where there's public agencies, all of the data we're collecting is current, it's accessible, it's public information. These agencies all have memorandums of understanding, salary schedules, benefit summaries, job descriptions, organization charts, budgets, position allocations. So they have all that information online. Part of our process is we have to analyze the job here, not just by title, but what is the job? What is a maintenance worker? What is an accountant? What is a planner in Simi Valley? And what is that comparable job in all the survey agencies? And then we're essentially grabbing the maximum of the pay range. That's the control point, comparing max to max for all these agencies. We're looking at cash benefits, things like longevity pay, education incentives, deferred compensation, excess contributions towards retirement. Those are all considered kind of cash components. And then we're also looking at insurance benefits, so the employer cost for health, dental, vision, life, and disability insurance. So the computations that I'm going to show you in terms of market position factor in all those things on the right. We're not just looking at base salary, we're looking at base salary, cash benefits, and insurance benefits. So this is a chart that gives you a distribution. So if we take all the survey jobs I forget what the number of survey jobs is, but it's somewhere around 80, 85 or 90 or so. And if we just look at them in terms of what is their market deviation to median, if we look in the middle, our objective would be for most of the bars to be near the middle of that chart. So if we just kind of start at the middle, just estimating here, there's 24 jobs, mostly the green and yellow, or it looks like all green and yellow, which would be management and SEIU, that are job titles that were from 0 to 5% below median. And then going left, we have, looks like around 22, 23 job titles that are 5 to 10% below. And then the next bar over 10 to 15% below looks like we have around 14 job titles. 15 to 20% below median is 15, and then more than 20% looks like it's 16. And again, those color variations are broken, basically breaking those job titles down into the different employee groups. You have some job classifications that are slightly above market. So it looks like there's around 11 that are within plus or minus 5% of median. And then you have, looks like 5 that are more than 5 to 10% above, and then 2 that are 10 to 15% above. It's not uncommon to have a little bit of distribution on the wings in terms of having some jobs that are maybe ahead of market or below. An additional consideration is you may have an internal salary structure. I talked earlier about that horizontal relationship in terms of your internal classification structure. That may override the market data by a little bit. If we have 5 data points for your directors, but you have a desire for the directors to be in a common range, then we're going to average or utilize that data in aggregate, and that's going to change a little bit compared to what this raw data shows. This chart shows the median deviation, and ideally, if you want to be at median, you'd have as many of those bars in that shaded area, pretty close, tightly clustered against the median of market. We did look at other options. We looked at 5% below median, and we looked at 2.5% below median. So if you were to look at those options, everything kind of shifts a little bit to the right if we're changing our target by reducing it by 5 or 2.5%. For the median option, if we translate that into adjustments or kind of anchoring benchmarks for all your job titles and then factor on top of that all the employees, this gives you the number of employees in terms of what the real results are in terms of adjustments. So 87 employees would receive no adjustment as part of this. Essentially, the analysis has determined that the salary range that they have is comparable to market. It's at median already, maybe even slightly above, so no change is necessary. 105 employees that would have 0 to 5%, 184, 5 to 10%, and then 75, 22, and 20. So we have majority of increases are in that 0 to 10% range. I think if we average this whole thing out, it's around 9%. And again, we did run 2 more options, a 5% below median and a 2.5% below median. So implementation is, how do we translate this into slipstream, into an effective date and your budget process? And this is where you have some options in terms of the mechanism by which you do this. So what you're trying to balance is, if your objective is to be at median, most organizations can't do that all at once. So if you were to try and do that and say, effective this date, we're going to do it all at once, most agencies, that's an insurmountable number. So what you try and do is you bite off as much of that as you feel comfortable your budget can. And then what happens is you're placing employees in the range, and their normal range progression increases will occur over time. So if you look at the upper right there, if I have a 10% range adjustment for a job, one option would be I could just laterally move that employee over into the new range. And what you can see is in the old range, they were topped out. In the new range, they now have room for range progression. And we can implement that day one and then just let your normal increases, the range increases, which are an assessment of performance and are given on anniversary dates, and then the employee would, over time, get back to being at the range maximum. So that would be the cheapest way of implementing year one. If we did full implementation, as I said before, that would do the 10% immediately. And you would do that for all employees in that analysis. We also came up with an option that basically split that difference. So instead of starting at that, whatever that lowest cost is, we're going to go halfway between, which in this example would be a 5% increase. So then you're basically doing 5% year one, and then the remaining 5% would be in future increases in terms of range progression increases. This implementation methodology is very mechanical, and so we ran a bunch of spreadsheets and did some data analysis. It's very similar to the kinds of things you might have in an agreement if you're bargaining an agreement for SEIU or for the engineers bargaining group. The mechanics might be a little bit different in terms of the process, but the concept is the same. You're not doing it all at once. You're spreading it essentially over a multi-year time period, about 3 years for this. So if you figure you're biting off 50% of it year one, within 2 or 3 years after that, most employees will get back to where they were in terms of range placement. So this is very consistent with how you've done your collective bargaining agreements for other groups that were part of data that was derived from this study. So here's the cost. This is looking at median. And remember that full cost, if you were to do everything, and this is broken down by bargaining group, be $3.785 million to do the full cost. And that is the full burden moving forward. It's only a question of, do you get there within 2, 3, 4, 5 years? You have control over that. The 50% difference cost, that's doing the gap between the two. You can see the nearest dollar cost is $880,000. So that would be the cheapest cost year one, but you're essentially going to just end up going all the way to that 3.7. It just will take a longer period of time. So the idea of 50% option is to get there a little bit quicker so that it doesn't take you 6 or 7 years to get there, that you're biting off half of it, and then most employees, as I said, will get the remainder of that adjustment within 2 or 3 years. An employee that's significantly off market, if they were like 20 or 25% off market, it might take a little bit longer. But for average employees, it's going to be within 2 or 3 years after implementation if you start with that 50%. And then we did run numbers. If we do 2.5% below median, those numbers come down. That long-term number comes down. The nearest dollar number doesn't change much because that's kind of rounding into a range, and the range minimums provide a pretty big gap in terms of being able to round into. So you don't see as much of a change in that nearest dollar, but you can see the progression up to full cost is lower. And then we did a 5% below median. The reason for doing the 2.5 and the 5 is if you can't find a way to be able to adjust or look for paying for that 3.785 in your budget looking forward. So if you're making a commitment today, we know we can do that 50%. We're confident we can do range progression increases that basically get us to that 3.785 within the next 2, 3, 4 years. If your budget analysis says that that's doable, and I don't speak for you on that, then this option meets your objective in terms of wanting to be at median. It's consistent with what's been done with 2 of your bargaining groups and allows for an ease in terms of kind of slipstreaming it into your budget process. If a year or 2 from now something happens that causes a change, you always have the ability to do some adjustments or slowdowns if forecasts and those things change. So just in summary, the results of the survey show that you have an average 9% deviation. Most of that is going to be for unrepresented in terms of a greater differential. Not uncommon because when you have bargaining groups, you have an obligation to bargain. You have cycles of 2, 3, 4-year contracts. And so there's a regular attention. Unrepresented often gets a little bit off to the side, and don't want to say you're inattentive to it, but most organizations, that's kind of the last group that they would make adjustments to. Your insurance benefits keep you a lot more competitive compared to market. That's why we made sure that we captured that insurance benefit in this analysis, because you do actually provide a higher benefit in terms of employer cost compared to the market agencies. And then, really in the end, you're basically coming up with this new compensation plan as what's presented in the staff report that uses that underlying median market data and then gives you a new updated compensation plan. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions from the dais? Councilmember Rhodes?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the analysis of the different groups and using the different cities that were on that chart, were any of the titles, positions, compared to outside contracted? And an example I would have is for the title of city attorney. In our city, we have a contracted city attorney. Would any of those other comparisons be used?
No. So we're not looking at contract positions. They have to be a city employee or an agency employee on their payroll, that type of job, not contract jobs.
Excellent, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate your staying here much longer than probably you wanted. But appreciate you being here all evening. I just want to make sure that we are treating our different employment entities equally. And so you've referenced that a couple times, but I just want to be sure I know that that the SEIU and the engineers bargained in good faith to try to get to this point. I want to be sure that we're doing literally the same thing for both. Can you maybe elaborate more on how that works?
So I think with SEIU and the engineers employee group, they bargain the process by which you give COLAs and extra equity adjustments, and they schedule that according to their interests. So they can accelerate those that are further behind market. They can target whatever job classifications they want to get an increase in year one of the contract, year two, year three. So that's a very customized, very deliberate exchange or input process, I guess, from the labor representatives. What we're doing is very similar to that. It's just more math. So we're not going to each department or each employee and getting their opinion on as to whether or not we should accelerate some jobs over others. There's no need to do that because this is a management implementation, not a collective bargaining process. But the concept is the same. We're essentially doing a 3-year implementation, more or less, very similar to what's being done in the collective bargaining agreements.
Okay. Thank you.
And if I can just add, we will have to meet and confer with the POA and the PMA because they are represented.
Got it. Understood.
Any other questions? No, thank you very much for the presentation. Do we have any discussion or for a motion?
I'm prepared to make a motion if.
Thank you, Councilmember Judge.
Thank you. I move to direct staff to implement salary adjustments to align salary ranges with the market median and adjust employee salaries using the 50% difference method. Effective the pay period beginning as soon as administratively possible for unrepresented management and confidential management, and as soon as administratively possible following a meet and confer process with both the Police Managers Association and the Police Officers Association.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Ayala?
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Yes.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I can tell you staff will be very happy with this action tonight, so thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9B, approval of Code of Ethics and Conduct for elected officials and members of appointed boards, commissions, and committees. And Deputy City Manager Heather Sumagaise is here to present this item.
Thank you, Lucy. I don't have a presentation, so if you don't mind clearing the screen, just pushing exit here. All right, there we go. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. While tonight's item is routine, it does serve as an important reaffirmation of the city's Code of Ethics and Conduct for elected officials and members of appointed boards, commissions, and committees. The code is intentionally values-based. It's not punitive in nature, but instead serves to guide behavior, support ethical decision-making, and reinforce public trust. It establishes the principles that shape how public officials and appointed members carry out their roles in service to the public. These include expectations relating to acting in public interest, complying with the law, respectful conduct, transparency, decision-making based on merit. It also addresses key areas such as conflict of interest, gift and favors, the handling of confidential information, the appropriate use of public resources, and maintaining independence, accountability, and a professional working environment. The code has been in place since 2002 and was recently reviewed in 2023. Tonight's item is part of the city's regular review cycle and keeps us aligned with our biannual review process, while also acknowledging recent updates at the state level. The City Council has been proactive in this area and has traditionally gone beyond state requirements by extending AB 1234 ethics training to appointed members of our boards, commissions, and committees as a part of their appointment to volunteer service. This helps ensure a consistent standard of ethical conduct across elected and appointed officials. Before turning to the specific action tonight, I want to briefly acknowledge recent updates to AB 1234 ethics training requirements at the state level, which were effective in 2026.
These updates expand applicability to additional roles, including department heads and deputy directors, reaffirm the requirement of 2 hours of ethical training every 2 years, and introduce new fiscal and financial governance training requirements with compliance required by January 1st, 2027. Staff is addressing these requirements through administrative processes, training programs, and internal tracking, and not through the changes to the Code of Ethics document itself. So I want to be clear that these broader changes are not the focus of tonight's item. Tonight's action is focused specifically on the City Council and members of our boards, committees, and commissions. So while these updates are important, they're operational in nature and separate from the action before you this evening. In terms of the Code of Ethics itself, there are no substantial changes being proposed. City staff does recommend one clarification. And please note that this does not appear as a track change in your staff report as attachment C, so I will read it to you. The change that should have appeared was on page 4, section 17, titled Implementation. It updates the language to clarify that the code will be reviewed on a biannual basis rather than referencing a specific month. In previous documents, it stated in November of even-numbered years. This adjustment aligns the document with current practice while also providing flexibility moving forward. Staff recommends that the City Council reaffirm the existing Code of Ethics and Conduct with the minor clarification noted.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Motion? Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Happy to make the motion, but just to clarify, so what you're saying, that what we have in our packet is basically how we want it to look right now, correct?
Correct.
And so the motion probably should state with item 17 amended, is that correct? As amended? I believe that, or implementation, is that how the amendment should read? So
Correct.
Okay.
We can add
Motion
that to
should read,
that.
I'm sorry. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, and I mean, if there's no discussion, happy to make that motion with that clarification. So I move to reaffirm the City of Simi Valley Code of Ethics and Conduct for elected officials and members of appointed boards, commissions, and committees, including with the included outline modification for section 17.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ayala?
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilmember Judge?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Yes.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Where's my script? Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, City Council Member Reports.
Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you. On Tuesday, April 7th, I attended the Youth Council Committee meeting. They talked about what they were mentioning tonight, which was the application process, that it'll be hours for them to fill those 24 spots. On Thursday, April 9th, I attended the Neighborhood Council meeting where we had a presentation by city staff on the hazardous waste and recycling programs, and everyone really enjoyed it because they all found out new information. So lots of good stuff on the website for that. Friday, April 10th, I attended the 4th of July planning meeting. And if you go to seeme250.com, that provides a summary of everything that is happening on July 3rd and 4th here in the city to celebrate our 250th anniversary of the country. I also, on that same day, attended the opening of Froyo and Fido, which is the new frozen yogurt, plus they sell dog supplies, that's where the Fido comes in, up in Wood Ranch. And it was completely packed. It was on a Friday. Councilmember Rhodes was there with me. I had to go back later that evening because the line was too long. But what I have found is that she had to close for the next couple of days, few days, because they ran out of all of the frozen yogurt. That's how many people were actually there over those first couple days. So good for her. It's a good problem to have, I'm sure. The Saturday, April 11th, I attended the Youth Council Talent Show. Lots of great talent here in the city. I know Mayor Pro Tem Litster will talk more about that because she had a much more significant role in that event than I did. I just was an attendee. On Monday, April 13th, I attended the Council on Aging committee meeting. Important and very important events that they are working hard to put on, which are the concerts. And all of the money from those musical concerts are going to the Meals on Wheels program. So make sure you go to the website to be able to buy your tickets for those concerts coming up. Wednesday, April 15th, I attended the Youth Employment Services Committee meeting. They decided to put on a summer program specifically for businesses in the community to give them information about the hiring process for students. And so when the fall comes around, they know how to do permits and all of those things so that they are ready to go and hire more students in their businesses. I also attended that same day, the training here at City Hall in regards to the Retail Academy. I continued to let the city manager know that it was a great training. I learned so much when in that session. Thursday, the 16th, I attended the Dispatcher of the Year Awards. I know that Councilmember Rhodes will talk more about that because his Rotary Club did put that on. But again, congratulations to Jordan Cook, who was our representative there. Also to Smoking Mike's Barbecue, who put on the dinner. On Friday the 17th, I don't often talk about that I'm in the Simi Valley leadership class, but this one was important because on Friday, this session, it was all about our schools. And so we got to visit all of the different schools here in Simi, or most of them. But I just want to do a few shout outs to highlight 3 of what our schools are doing and which we got to experience. We were able to experience the culinary class at Royal High School, where they actually made the lunch for us. From everything, from the sauces to the salad dressing, besides salad dressing, but everything else they made, they did a great job. We went to Sinaloa. Their jazz band actually played for us, which was great. And we went to Santa Sue, and they are about to start Pippin. And so they did an act from Pippin to be able to showcase what they're doing. So if anyone to support our schools, Santa Susana, go to their school website and buy your tickets to go see Pippin. Those students do an amazing job. On Saturday, the 18th, I attended a Junior Olympics along with Mayor Pro Tem Litster, and we did the proclamation for those athletes. And that evening, I then went to the Kiwanis Country Music Festival and volunteered there for about 4 hours. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Wednesday, April 8th, I traveled downtown for the first of SCAG meetings. This is the executive meeting. We nominated new officers, and we allocated $9.6 million to Metro for the FIFA World Cup transportation initiatives. The next day, on the 9th, we had 2 SCAG meetings. The Joint Policy Committee meeting, we discussed development priorities and processes for Connect SoCal 2025. And during this meeting, members heard updates on data inputs for the next plan cycle. Initial analysis points to key shifts in regional growth, including slower population increases driven by aging demographics, lower birth rates, and reduced immigration. These trends will have implications for travel patterns, economic activity, and transportation funding. This stage of work will provide critical context for upcoming policy and strategy updates. And we also reviewed the State of the Region report, which I asked a link to be sent to all the council members. Also that day, we had the Regional Council meeting where we received reports on 2 bills sponsored by SCAG, SB 1087, AB 2002, and we got a preview of the annual conference that'll be coming up in May. I rushed back to this part of the world and attended the Moore Park Arts Gallery ribbon cutting, and now they finally have a space where they can display their artwork at the college. On April 10th, I attended the Simi Chamber breakfast in the morning. I attended the ribbon cutting at Froyo and Fido, and I gratuitously took some pictures with some dog owners out front because we couldn't even get near the front door. It was that packed. And I did not go back, but now I understand that's probably a good idea because they ran out. So I'll have to make a visit over there. On April 13th, I flew to Sacramento, but it was not CME business. On April 15th, attended the Arts Commission meeting on tax day. Luckily, we're already filed, so good. And Mayor Pro Tem Litster will have more to say on the, I'm sure, on that meeting. On April 16th, I attended the second day of the Retail Academy, and in agreement, the second day, though it was different than the first, was also fantastic and very insightful, and I'm glad that we have gone through the effort internally to get that education and preparation for going to the conference. Also on the 16th, yes, the Rotary Club of Simi Valley was proud to work with the Simi Valley PD and come up with the Dispatcher of the Year event where we celebrated Jordan Cook. The dispatchers, each year a different entity is responsible for putting on the Dispatcher of the Year event. And it's been neglected a little bit. And they came to us and said, hey, can you help make this more of an event? And well, we just set the bar really, really high for the next organization. And I think that it might have caused more work because I think they're probably going to come back to us and say, why don't we just do it every time? So, and then on April 17th, Heather Sumagaisai and I had an interview with the Ventura County Star where we talked about short-term rentals, and Heather made sure that I didn't get the city in trouble. So, and that ends my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Wednesday, April 8th, I too attended the SCAG EAC meeting downtown. Earlier that day, though, I did attend a Microsoft Teams meeting with the Ventura County Transportation Committee, basically finalizing our executive director's performance evaluation. What's good news is we kept him. He's doing a great job, so good luck. BCTC is being well run. On April 9th, I too attended the SCAG meetings along with Councilmember Rhodes, and he already talked about those, so I won't go into detail on them. We did have a special Transportation Committee meeting, mostly talking about movements and stuff during the Olympics and the upcoming FIFA soccer games. So that was basically what we were focusing on. On Friday, April 10th, I too attended the chamber breakfast, and on Saturday, April 11th, this is something that's not city business, but I wanted to mention it anyways. We had, at the Elks Lodge, we have celebrations of life. You know, unfortunately, people pass away every year, and we have these celebrations. On Saturday's event, though, was one I've never seen before at our lodge. We had almost 400 people show up for the celebration of life for Robert Johnson, a former exalted ruler there at the Elks Lodge who passed away. It was amazing, the outpouring of joy and goodwill and brotherhood. It was awesome. And if you're not an elk, you should think about it. Monday, April 13th, I too attended the Council on Aging meeting, and Councilmember Ayala covered that pretty well. On Wednesday, April 15th, the Retail Academy was an eye-opener. I mean, an eye-opener seriously. I've learned that retail wasn't dead, that they are coming back, and we're trying to get our city back on track to have more places for you to shop, spend your money here in Simi Valley. Thursday, April 16th, I attended the Dispatcher of the Year Awards. It was great. Rotary Club did a great job. I look forward to comparing it to whoever comes next, because it was a great event. And it was amazing because it's not just our dispatcher that was honored. It was one from every agency throughout the county. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Litster.
Thank you. I'll start with Thursday, April 9th. I attended the SCAG Joint Policy Committee, which has been discussed. Appreciated that. I actually Friday, April the 10th, traveled through the night so I could be back Saturday morning to catch a flight so I would not miss our youth talent show. I would thank you, Ryan, for inviting me to be a judge, and I want to commend Susie Jeffords and Patrick Rose, who are my fellow judges. We had that privilege of judging over, 30 acts or so, and just some outstanding talent, everything from singing to dancing to instrumental work to all sorts of things to celebrate. But I want to commend the Youth Council for their efforts raising, honoring and recognizing with monetary awards. Yes, we as judges got to select who we thought were deserving, but as did the audience, and it was just really well done and just a huge effort by our youth to make that successful. So I commend all involved. Going into the following week, on Wednesday, April the 15th, as was mentioned, I chaired the Simi Valley Arts Commission meeting. We received a budget. We approved the filed budget for the fiscal year ending, and then the projected operating budget for fiscal year 26-27, which will be coming to the council, and so we passed that as well. They also had we discussed the operating plan for fiscal year 26-27, which was a work of art. It will also be coming to the council, and it was beautifully done, but it talks about all of the plans and desires for the coming year. And I think I sense the commission was so excited that they are desirous to have a booth at the street fair and talk about the different cultural activities and opportunities taking place in Simi Valley, and also solicit conversations about maybe where we should be going. And so we have a very involved Arts Commission at the moment. And on Thursday, April the 16th, I too attended the Retail Academy. It really was very instructive. The materials they gave us, very good. And as what Councilmember Mike Judge mentioned, one of my takeaways was definitely that retail is not disappearing, just changing, and we need to really strategize how to be effective in bringing that to our city. And so, and there's a bigger role for the city to be playing, and anyway, lots of strategizing on how we're going to go forward in making good things happen in that regard. Also on that date, I attended Ventura County Association of Governments Admin Committee meeting, also met with City Manager Samantha Argabright to discuss issues of concern. Friday, April 17th, I am not I have the fun of being part of the steering committee for the Simi Valley Leadership, which means I bop in occasionally to what's going on. And I will say, I was going to reference something you didn't even mention that I was so impressed. I went to Simi Valley High School and viewed their beautiful new food distribution cafeteria that they have there, and their wonderful plan where they've built that portion of it, and then now you see this big cavernous dirt area that concrete will be starting in about 2 weeks, which will become their new fine arts building, which is being built there. And it's just going to be a beautiful building, and so glad to see their bond funds going towards something so positive for Simi High School. Saturday, April the 18th, thank you, Councilmember Ayala, for making sure there was a proclamation. It was delightful to read that back and forth together, and he was very modest, but did not brag, but his daughter took 5th place in the softball throw. So I will mention it for you so you don't have to look like the bragging father. So also on that date, I too attended Roundup's Country Music Festival. Hats off to the Kiwanis for putting that together. That's a lot of work, but a great community event and fun to be part, and the funds that were raised go towards so many projects. Great to be a volunteer at that event. Sunday, April the 19th, Mayor Kavanaugh was not available, invited me to take her place at the car show that was held at Royal High School and to be a judge for the Mayor's Award. I felt supremely unqualified to be that judge, and I was honest with them. However, it was a delight going around and seeing all these beautiful cars that were here, that were on display, and finding out the stories behind them. It was so delightful. I had to call my husband. He said, "You do not want to miss this," and grandson, and we had a great time. But my kudos to them, to what's going on there to raise funds for students there. And Didi, just so you know, I selected a 1964 Plymouth Valiant as my selection, and it was unassuming, but it was restored perfectly to the original with all original parts. Anyway, it was lovely. So thank you for letting me to do that. Today, before we had our closed session, I did attend a League of Cities Veterans Legislation Forum because I do serve on a Veterans Committee. I just wanted to understand better some of the legislation, some of the things taking place. There was so much conversation about veterans today during public comment, which I was grateful for. I just wanted to share some of the things I learned quickly in that roundtable discussion as far as legislation that's taking place. One of the things that has passed and is going through is tax relief for military, or in process that they're working on. I'm sorry, it was Assemblywoman Pilar Chavo who spoke, but we're working on tax relief for military pensions because basically it's awfully expensive in California, and if there's some tax relief that maybe when they retire from the military will stay in California. And that was some of the ideas. What did pass that she was part of the effort was to stop the claim sharks. I was not aware that veterans, when they're trying to get their benefits, often are approached by a group, they call them claim sharks, but basically to help them get their veterans, as opposed to using the free resources of county veterans service officers. And so it's legislation that's trying to raise these CVSOs be much more accessible, maybe more funding for them, but and basically to get rid of claim shark access to veterans. AB 2054 is making the rounds, which is supporting military families with paid leave for things that are not currently counted, like training, or even sometimes domestic deployment for fires, et cetera. And so they would love the city's support on some of this legislation, which might be worthy of looking at, and I think certainly worthwhile. Were you going to say?
We'll have to look at the ledge platform. We've modified it to allow for some veterans' causes and veterans' issues. But depending upon what the ledge platform says, we may have to bring it back to council, but that sounds like a good
one. I appreciate that. And AB 2022 is talking about exempting property tax for disabled vets some of the things to look at. But it was very instructive, and so I appreciated that to be able to attend that. I will add that tomorrow is my 38th wedding anniversary. I told my husband, you dare show up with flowers tonight. And he said he would not do that if I promised, if basically I acknowledged it publicly that it was taking place, and that he negotiated that when we hit our 40th anniversary in 2 years, he said, I will be there. So I just letting you know that may happen. So anyway, I'm acknowledging publicly that I've been married 38 years. My anniversary is tomorrow. So, and with that, I end my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Congratulations on your wedding anniversary tomorrow to you and Greg.
Thank you.
All right. On Thursday, April 9th, Mayor Pro Tem Litzner and I had an ad hoc call regarding our filming committee, and I will be getting with the city manager probably sometime this week to follow up and discuss where our next steps are. On Friday, April 10th, City Manager Argabright and I met with our county supervisor just to discuss future endeavors between the two of us. On Saturday, April 11th, this was great. I had the pleasure of being a judge for the Regional Chamber of Commerce Civics Bee. So it's for 8th graders, and Mr. Brian Dennert from Royal High School and Michael Court from Janice Parvin's office and I were the 3 judges. Anthony Angelini emceed the event, did a great job. And it was awesome. We had these 10 young 8th graders that had qualified to come to this bee. And they have 3 rounds. First round is 10 questions. Second round is 10 questions. And then they had the essays where the judges, myself and the other 2, read the essays and then were able to ask them questions. But what was funny is during the 2 10-question sessions, you're allowed to, the spectators were also allowed to answer the questions. Yeah, that wasn't very good. I got 11 out of 20, and I guessed on a couple of those. Now, Mr. Dennert and Miss Mike Court, neither one of them would do it. Mr. Dennert said, I didn't want to look bad. But it was a lot of fun. Congratulations to the 3 finalists. The finalists will go to the state competition, which we are hosting at the Ronald Reagan Library in June, I believe it is. So I'll follow up with that. But it was a great opportunity. We had students from, we had quite a few from Hillside, one from Valley View. Then we had 3 or 4 from high school or middle schools outside of Simi Valley. So it was very, very informative. It was a lot of fun. Oh, and also with Mr. Dennert, I will get with you on item 10B. I'll bring something up on then. Let's see. Then I had the pleasure of spending 4 days with 240 high schoolers from Thursday, April 16th to yesterday. I was exhausted when I got home, but it's always a great thing. It's a Rotary event that we do a leadership camp for the high schoolers. And I know I went there as a Rotarian, but one of the counselors there, or one of the instructors also told my 30 group of people, oh, by the way, one of your counselors is a mayor. And there were 5 of us, and they all turned around and looked at the guy sitting next to me. I went, oh, thanks. So I didn't tell, none of us said anything until the next class when it was dealing with judging on personalities, and I got a driver. I'm a driver. Yeah, and so I said, now do you know who the mayor is? And they all started laughing, but it was a lot of fun. But talking about running into people where you don't expect them, as I'm walking to one of the classes, which is public speaking with my team, I look up and I see Joseph and Katie from Simi Film Fest up visiting our location because they have a new business or a new place called Simi Vibe. And what we do at Ryla has some instances that they may want to incorporate into Simi Vibe. But I'm up in the middle of Ojai nowhere, and you run into people you know. Joseph was like, who are you? For a second, out of place. But it was a great event. That was my 24th year doing that, and as long as I can still walk and talk, I'll probably keep doing it. It's a lot of fun. So that's the end of my report. And item 10B, do we have anything for future agendas? I do, but if somebody else does.
I thought it was very fun to get this report that we all received. I actually would love maybe, because we haven't discussed this item really at all, but I thought it might be nice to have maybe consider allowing people to basically on our website indicate they have desires for lighting, and I think that would just be a relatively easy addition. Obviously, it has to be studied, et cetera. But I don't know, is that appropriate? Is that?
Yes, I think we should. It would be nice to have an update really on our lighting.
Lighting, and maybe that's where we start.
Now.
Well, and we go to shows too, to be honest, where we see the solar lighting options, et cetera. And I'm not looking for more work for our staff, but I do think there is maybe some savings and
Well, and one of the
adjustments to be
things
had.
that Amon had suggested was, converting them to LED, and we did that.
We've done that, yes,
So when we took over the lights from Edison, we did that process
right.
already. But certainly we can add a section to the form online about, identifying kind of dark areas of the city.
Ask the county to put lights on their streets.
Yeah, some of the areas it looks like that were identified are county area, but
And maybe that's what we need, Mike, is correspondence with the county. Okay.
All right, one of the items that I wanted to bring up the possibility of, and Mike, you can be a lot of help on this one. So I was approached by Brian Dennert with Royal High, but also with Rancho Simi, about doing a possible walkable trail from Mayfair Park up to the Simi Town Center, especially with the proposed development and such that's going to be happening. I guess there was some research done that SCAG might have the money to assist with the proposal and the actual building of it.
Yeah, it probably come under the Go Human campaign.
Okay, somebody was saying, and they go, you've got Mike Judge right there. This might be a good opportunity to go for that. But it would, I guess there used to be a natural type of walkway up there. But Mayfair Park, and it would just be between Caltrans, the city of Simi Valley, and Rancho Simi Park District properties. But it seems to be kind of a positive idea. I'd just like to look into that. Is anyone?
That's fine. And if people aren't familiar, that's the Dinosaur Park that's on the south side of the freeway, and there's a culvert or something that would take you underneath the freeway to get up there. That is what she's talking about.
I just want to confirm that it's not like a drainage culvert or something like that.
It could be. I don't know.
I don't know. I know for sure that's what we would look at as part of
Yeah,
the
we'll-
research.
Yeah, staff will
Yes.
look at that.
Okay.
That's the first thing that
I
comes to
believe
my
it's
mind.
referred to as a wild animal crossing.
Well, it's not the Arroyo Simi, so we're good. But it's just an idea to look at, because once we start getting a lot more things going on up at the center, at the town center, it would be a great idea. Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right. As I mentioned earlier, I just wanted to ask everybody in our community to keep our military and service members in their hearts, their thoughts, their prayers if they pray. There are, and like one of our speakers, Ms. Sanchez said, it is Military Child Family Month. And I know I have friends who are deployed whose children are at home. So just kind of a little bit of an emotional side. But also, I would like to adjourn in memory of Detective Randy Hoppert. He was a Tulare County Sheriff's Office detective. So we are adjourned.